Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Blair Johnson with the Badass Records podcast, welcoming you in for an episode with the amazing Robert Flynn. This conversation was recorded in late July, and it is currently election eve, approaching 11 p.m. Central, what is this? What do you call it? Standard time here in the Midwest, which is funny timing considering how politically educated Mr. Flynn is. Would have been nice to have gotten this one out 1 week prior, but maths. And, stupid is as stupid does. What are you going to do? This is exciting for me because it's the, I believe, longest running initial outreach to finished product set of communication to make an episode happen. So I'm thrilled to see it through. New episodes of this podcast, which, if you're unfamiliar, is about people and what they're into and some of their favorite albums over their journey on this rock. But new episodes are out Thursdays. You can subscribe on YouTube or where you stream your audio stuff. You can keep your finger on the pulse of the thing via Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to, if you need to get in touch with me, badassrecordspodcast@gmail.com. Things are looking a little tilted, to say the least. And in that regard, I'll say that hope, as President Barack Obama once hung his hat on, as well as Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption, is a beautiful thing. So if things don't look amazing tomorrow, we can always hope that they look better the next day. And we can all, in theory, one day channel our collective energy into a less divided America, and regardless of partisanship and all that stuff. So appreciate you stopping by. Peace, love. Hope you enjoy the show. I think we will be looking at episode number 143, but don't quote me on that, of Badass Records podcast. This whole thing is, 3 years old in terms of origin and recording. And when we were in origin phase, you were part of my list of folks that I reached out to, and you said yes, and I was very grateful for that. And a good, healthy handful of months later, we're here and doing it. So Robert Flynn, I was unintentionally coming up with nicknames for you, Roberto Luongo, or my favorite that I came up with was Robert Flannery O'Connor. Appreciate you giving me some of your Saturday.
I think my favorite was in law school. I didn't pay for cable or HBO, and I came to know that a friend's roommate nicknamed me Sunday Rob because I went over every Sunday to watch the last season of Sopranos.
Oh,
So
wow.
I just mysteriously appeared at whatever, Sundays at 7.
Sunday Rob, nice. Mm-hmm. This was where and when?
Lawrence in the mid-aughts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you are a lawyer turned teacher, husband, father of 3, Eagle Scout, right?
Yeah.
And Scoutmaster. If you're a leader, you get that title, right?
Well, there's one.
There's one.
So, but I'm
leader.
active in it.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
An avid reader.
Yeah, not as many books as long form journalism.
Interesting. And a volunteer archaeologist. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
What else? What other hats do you wear that I have left off of that list?
Well, I built a pretty cool COVID era treehouse, so I'm kind of handy too.
I think there a scout meeting at your place once it was finished.
Yeah,
The boys might have spent some time playing.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Cool. I built this table.
Nice.
It was a door.
I thought it might have been with the 25.
Yeah. So I cut it. It was behind my furnace with 2x4s screwed to it for 8 years.
That's nice, heavy duty too.
Yeah. So I cut it into thirds. There's another piece. And I used all the 2x4s to make the support. And then when it was time to go, and I was like, the whole time, I mean, I have this freaking heavy door. Like I had to have my ex-father-in-law had kids one afternoon and was dropping them off, and I was like, "Can you come down here?" Because I was getting but I needed another body to help me get up onto sawhorses, and I'm using my grandfather's.
Circular saw.
Yes, thank you.
That would take a while to circulate.
It was, and it was smoking, and I and I got a chunk of the way through, and I was like, wait a minute, this thing is gonna go bump. I was like, this is not safe. So all the way down to I had a buddy come over and help me, and I bought one of these not Keurig, it's a pocket plug jig. Yes
Jigsaw?
yes, that was
Or a sawzall.
no
Jigsaw?
a jigsaw to get. No, it's not a saw. It helps you drill into pockets. I'll show it to you when we're done. But anyway, I get all the way down to time to pick out paint and buy some polyurethane and replace the 25 that was on there.
With a new 25?
Yeah. So I'm checking out at Sutherland's, and this lady who's been a cashier there forever, she's like, dude, she's always looks a little bit absent. Like she's sharp. She's just somewhere else. And, dude, and she gets to these and she goes, what are you doing with these? And the whole time I'm making this thing, which is just in tiny little pockets, I'm like, this is like what was like, did they put this framing on it and then set it on sawhorses or something for like a wedding reception, and it's table 25, or was it a door at an inn? Like what? And she's, I'm just putting some new stickers on a door, and she was like, for my wedding reception, we had an outdoor reception. My dad made all the tables and numbered them, and we had them sort of and I was like, holy shit. Like, I was like, that's a fascinating story. And I was like, get me out. I should have dug in. It might be the same.
It might be.
But,
wow.
Yeah. So you're handy. Good deal.
That's all I got.
So I was also, you already answered one of my questions. I was trying to recall region of origin for you and your wife, and I was thinking Salina, but it's Hayes is where her tribe. And then are you north, like way up north?
So I was born when my parents had gone to the country, a real small town in northwest Missouri.
Okay.
For I think it was a University of Missouri, like ag extension office job of my dad's, or some arm of the university. That's where I was born.
Okay. We must have just, I think when I learned where she's from, that we might have talked about how there's pockets like that around the country where religiously folks settled in areas. And so that's why you get, this is not accurate, but a bunch of Protestants up in Michigan and Minnesota, then whoever's out in Hayes, So that's for some reason I thought you were from way up north, but
No, not a. Oh, is it the formerly blonde and light skinned and
no,
A?
no, no.
No, no. I was maybe the first grandchild on either side, first generation since immigration to not be born in St. Louis.
Okay. Oh wow, interesting. And then do you have siblings?
Older brother,
Okay. And what was your project? I know I've
my Eagle
yeah,
project.
I know I've asked before, but I can't recall.
Well, I had a sister too. She
Oh,
was adopted when my parents, before me, she was older. They lived in Lincoln, Nebraska. My dad was
oh my God,
doing,
are you about to tell me the tree story?
yeah,
Holy shit, I totally forgot about that.
yeah,
I do have chirp as part of my notes, but wow, that was you.
that was me. Yeah,
Holy smokes, man.
yeah,
I haven't thought about that in when did we do that? 2016?
or somewhere 15 maybe,
15.
15 or spring of 16.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I interrupted.
she was adopted and um, yeah, died young,
Like 16 or something, right?
14.
14.
Yeah, it was mid-August, right before freshman year of high school.
Was she unbuckled in a car?
Yeah, it's probably a car. It's like a 72 Nova or something like that. It could have been one of those old cars that doesn't even have seatbelts in the back.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Uh-huh.
she and two others died right down. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much like straight down your street.
Right.
Although this ends at home, so if
Yeah.
you just
If it cut through, you would.
if you hop over, it's like, yeah.
And she was 14. How old were you? You're the youngest of three.
I was 10 and a half ish.
Oh, so you still got. You have memories that have not vanished.
Oh yeah, I remember like of her.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
hmm
Wow. That's wild, man.
Yeah, crazy.
Whew. Um.
But speaking of the pockets and things, that's you're right about Hayes, because the pocket in Hayes was, or a large part of it is Catholic Germans who had come from the Volga River Valley, where they had lived about 100 years, at Catherine the Great's urging to come settle this lush valley and come live here tax free, no military conscription. You can practice Catholicism. And then whoever 100 years later was the czar was like, yeah, that's all coming to an end. And they're like, okay, time to go. They send out a few scouts who, I think the first destination was going to be, they're thinking about maybe like Brazil or something too.
Oh, wow.
It was like very different. And they went through Germany. There was some like immigrant aid society kind of charity that they stopped and worked with, and they're like, no, you need to go to America, go check that out, which they did. And they came, five of them, I think 4 or 5 men came over, took the train all the way to like however far west. This is probably like 1780.
Damn.
And it's like, okay, end of the line ish was around Hayes and a similar ecosystem where they're like, yeah, we can grow wheat here too. And went back, told everybody, and
Wow.
have a bunch of Volga, so Catholic German, Volga German families around Hayes.
Wow. Huh.
Beautiful churches too. Like if you've driven through, you might have seen a sign that's like post rock country, as in fence post, because there's so little
In Hayes.
around, like a couple of counties, like Russell County, Ellis.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's so few trees that for fence posts, they would basically drill down to the limestone. If you ever seen like semicircle cuts on limestone, or you will out there, but they would drill down, pour water, freezes overnight, splits off these sheets of, whatever, 8 or 10, 12-inch thick of the limestone, and they trim it down to be these like, they're about 4 feet high, and they go down maybe 1.5 feet in the ground, and that's what they use for their fence posts. So if you go out there, they're like these. It's beautiful, right? And then
Wow.
like kind of permanent, as opposed to
Yeah.
like metal stake or hedge apple stumps or whatever. They also have a bunch of churches out there because they turn to rock so much that these tiny, tiny towns, including in Victoria, the Cathedral on the Plains, which is a little more famous. Very small town, Victoria, much smaller than Hayes. And they're made out of this limestone. The families had to be a member of the parish, they had to contribute so much limestone.
What?
Like rough-hewn limestone for the church itself.
Huh.
So there's a bunch of beautiful little tiny town Catholic churches in these little towns all around Hayes.
Cool. Very cool. So what was your project?
That's what it's back to.
That's how it goes. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, that's how it came up. My sister. I at St. Francis and St. Peter's did a collection of winter clothing for 2 Native American Lakota missions. One was the St. Joseph Indian School in Chamberlain, South Dakota, and the other was St. Francis. It was a Jesuit mission, and I think it was on the Rosebud Reservation. So just taking, coats and scarves and hats and things up there.
So you were part of a bigger thing for your project?
No, I organized it all, and then we had the boxes and announcements at church and the bulletin and all that, and collected the stuff and packed it up, and my dad and I drove it up there.
Up to
the reservations in South Dakota.
No kidding. Did the windshield time count as part of the 100 hours?
I don't think you have to do 100 hours.
I thought it was 100.
Ooh, I don't know. That might be new.
That one.
This was a long time ago.
No, this is when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. So other kids helped me sort it.
Well, I
don't remember a number. It was like you needed to not just do a thing on your own. You had to
organize
and have others involved. And
I think that the hours put in by whoever is part of your deal gets to contribute. Mm-hmm. It's not you out there swinging a pickaxe for. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's really cool. So you're born in Northwest Missouri? Is that
mm-hmm. Maryville.
Okay. Maryville.
Where Northwest Missouri State University is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Did your folks put on music to listen to in the home when you guys were little?
The memory I have of music growing up more than anything else was when we would drive in the family car in the cassette deck. The soundtrack. The Big Chill.
I knew you were gonna say that.
You did?
Yeah. It's iconic.
It's a great soundtrack.
And we're not, I don't think, far apart age-wise, are we?
No, we're both very young still.
with beautiful heads of full bushy hair. Interesting.
And then some of the music in the home that I would play is, before you have the ability, that comes with driving age to get somewhere, especially then. It's not like Amazon was delivering anything and
right,
etc. There's an old 8-track player in the basement, so I pulled that up to my room at whatever age, 11, 12, 13 or whatever. So some of my first music was I definitely remember the Eagles' Hotel California. Was one of the 8-tracks.
Nice.
That's the one I distinctly remember. If I had to guess, if there's something else, it would have been Simon and Garfunkel or Jim Croce or something along those.
Is it Croce and not Croce? I've never looked it up. I've just run with one my whole life. Okay. What about live music? Did you see any shows at a young age?
First concert. Well, we would go to free concerts. We didn't have a ton of money growing up, so
sure.
My parents were looking for the free stuff. And we would go. I remember multiple times we'd go and the symphony would play on the lawn of the Nelson.
Cool.
Remember that. And my dad would play a lot of Irish music too.
No
Now I think
kidding.
about it. There's a lot of exposure to that, which maybe I just wasn't in tune to it or didn't pay attention until like high school when I started really listening to music. And I mean, the guy had like 100 cassettes, a whole big one of those things full of like all this Irish music.
Oh wow.
My first concert was U2 in '92 at Arrowhead. That would have been the Zoo TV tour, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
And I was not totally into U2.
But it was a big show that everybody was
It
going
was a big
to.
show that everybody was going to.
Yeah.
And they're good. Like, that's the concert I would go to. I don't listen to U2 a lot, but it's hard to argue with their whole catalog, right? And the entertainment value. Like, I would go for sure.
Nice. How did I forgot to ask how your folks met? Do you know?
I don't know. They met in high school in St. Louis, and I don't know how they met.
Okay.
As a general rule, I don't bring the other up to the other.
Or
much.
they?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. You lose a child, and it's pretty hard.
Oh my God.
The statistics of marriages that stay together, I think, is pretty low.
Right.
It's kind of what you described earlier about when your focus is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And how you described it was in a positive way of like, okay, if you're pouring attention and resources and yourself into a child, to remember to save some for the spouse or the other parent.
Yeah.
It was, my perception of it as young is that, and this probably, I would think, explains it for why it happens so often for couples who lose children, is that they're in that place of like dealing with their own grief, wrestling with all of that they also forget that other part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how they met.
Right.
Typically don't bring the other one up around them if it's I mean, they don't go on tirades, but it's just like
It's
They
keep the peace. Don't poke the bear.
don't poke the bear.
Yeah.
They don't they're living their life. They
Yeah.
don't need to
Sure. Yeah.
whatever's not part of their life. They don't need that.
You've always struck me as something of a political guy. How did that become? If I'm accurate in that assessment, how did that become part of your fabric?
Oh, that's a great question. Some of it's probably personality, like how we come out wired, as a father, like it's amazing, like how different they come out. I mean, there's a lot. It checks the nature versus the nurture. There's a lot of checks in the nature box.
Yeah.
I'm not saying nurture's nothing.
Yeah.
But there's probably some of that. I've always had like a justice streak, which was probably only fomented, and I mean that in a good way, by the Jesuits at Rockhurst.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
in the 80s we were very steeped. My perception is we were far enough from Vatican II in those changes, right? We're like 20 years past, so things are like settling into a post Vatican II rhythm, for lack of a better term. And those are the days where, like, I remember when our school had the news about Archbishop Romero being killed in, was it El Salvador?
Mm-hmm.
All those kinds of things. We were like more and more aware of those. Then there's, Archbishop Tutu.
Mm-hmm.
It's very famous, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. And so we as Catholic communities, socially progressive ones at the time, which was like, we all tended to be in those days, when we thought about the big picture and, injustice and human suffering and the human condition, more than some other things that have been prioritized.
The self, namely.
In the body. Yeah.
But I mean, nobody. When
Oh.
you say big picture, a big part of that pie graph for me is others, the world, not just you.
Got
So
it.
when
Yeah.
I say self, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
how's that gonna help me? Is the anyway?
Yeah. 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 So, I think being raised in that environment, sort of coming out pre-programmed for, have a real just like a streak, wanting to see justice and equity. I was drawn to American Studies in undergrad. I didn't really totally know what I wanted to do. I thought law school eventually, but it really engaged me to like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this place? Why is this place as this place is? What are we doing?
Yeah.
It was really eye opening. I mean, it's probably a major that is easy for one to like look down their nose at. Not that you are, but like I can see it being sort of like, what talking about movies and TV and what Instagram 101 or, but it was more like how we got to where we are and why and how, and it makes you ask a lot of questions and look around and ask questions. So that's probably it.
Okay.
Some of it probably came from my dad's side. He was I can't think of the word right now. That was back more in the machine politics days, and he was sort of identified by the local boss as like someone to bring into the fold, like with a future in this stuff. Like he was at the '68 convention, for example.
Interesting.
In Chicago.
Oh wow.
Did all those like local things. So there's probably some of that influence. It's hard to.
What does news consumption in 2024 look like for Robert Flynn?
Like, where do I go to, or how much, and how often?
All the above.
Well, we still take the paper.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Us and 14 other people. Mm-hmm. There's not many of us. I just got my renewal, and it's super expensive.
Yeah.
But you can negotiate down. Call that 800 number, and
you're not gonna. If memory serves, you're not gonna get anybody stateside. But you can negotiate. They can do the stuff.
You will not reach someone who you believe is giving you their actual name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you still take the paper.
I get a lot of my news through Google News.
Okay.
It's hard to give up. You're giving something up, like something we don't know, that even the creators don't know how it filters for us, right? Like they sort of set it in motion, and it's feeding whatever. But it's a good source of news too, of just staying abreast. I did get a lot from Twitter. I'd spent years cultivating probably around 1,000 accounts I followed, and they're mostly reporters, because I wanted to know what reporters were talking about to each other. Like, oh, you have to read Jenny Smith, or you have to read Joe Jones's article in whatever. Really, really outstanding piece. And when those things get traction among their peers, that's how I would know, okay, I need to check that out. Whether it's on
this, you're using the past tense though for this Twitter portion. Are you?
Yeah, I am no Elon Musk fan.
Okay.
And I don't want to participate in any endeavor that enriches him more.
I see.
So I've not gone back on Twitter since he bought it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is it possible to nutshell what's behind that for you?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't care for him, but I'm not informed. He's
a narcissistic megalomaniac.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
very fringe right. Just
Fair enough.
not doing like I can respect what what billionaires like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have chosen to do with their money, and there are others too. I don't see him doing good for the world. Like even his SpaceX stuff is like, as the world burns, like he wants to be able to go and watch, movies on Mars and live an extra 5 years or something.
Right back to that justice. What are we doing? How did we get here? Sort of stuff. So we have you have 3, I have 2. Our numbers are 1 and our 2 match up age wise. I have this distinct memory. I'm assuming it was our eldest baseball or on a bleachers behind a backstop or near a backstop. A practice is happening or a game is happening. And initially when I was trying to dig into this memory, I was thinking it was around the time that we all kind of went, wait, is Donald Trump actually going to be the candidate for the 20? So I thought it was then. And then I dug a little further and I thought maybe it was like, and this is bananas to say, around the time he was being impeached for the first time. But I felt like you had pen and paper or your phone out, and you were like, I in this moment, in this vacuum, where it was like, this is not going to happen. This ends today, and here are all the reasons why. It was almost like you were the core of a movement or a rally. Not actually, but the
vibe or
and comparing like the level of informedness to my own. I mean, I just felt like you had so many facts at your disposal and reasons why it was going to go direction A. And I don't think it did ultimately go that direction. But I remember just being like, man, you should be campaigning you should be entering.
Some of my students say that sometimes.
And I'm just like, a lawyer turned teacher turned politician, like would totally make sense, but the look on your face tells me
I couldn't put my family through that.
Can you expand a little bit?
I mean, it's just such a malicious environment, like judging every last thing, turning up every last stone, living in a fishbowl.
Gotcha.
I couldn't do it to them. Maybe if I didn't have a family and it was only doing it to myself, but which it's a sad state of affairs, right? Because the environment we're in it's turned our leadership in government, and I'm intentionally not using the word politician, but like those who govern, who's drawn to that? Like we have this subset of people who are willing to go through the ringer for all that, for good or for bad. But how many good people are we leaving out of governance? How many statesmen or stateswomen are left out that who could be doing good merely because of the environment and like the nastiness, like what it does? They're just like, nope. Like we're foregoing a lot.
Yeah.
It's sad, really.
So, I just, what are we doing? How did we get to where we are? Going back to that, I just, and some similar vibe to that memory and that experience at the ball field. I really can't get away from this, like, rooted to my core belief that at some point, for Pete's sake, somebody's going to pinch me or somebody's going to be like, gotcha. But here we are, late July 2024. I don't understand, and I'm not asking for you to educate me per se, but I don't understand how legally he is where he is. Considering what has transpired since transfer of power, it's fucking bananas, dude.
It's bananas. The man.
Today I'm just a quick Twitter look, and it's like everybody's posting pictures of his ear, and there's no scar. Like it, all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, was this fucking staged? You know what I mean? Like, and then you just go, why is this? Why is this a surprise? No, you should be, should all be bouncing off by now. It's so bananas, but it doesn't, because I keep waiting for that pinch or that gotcha.
And we're all numb to it. I tell my students this all the time. So all I teach is government and AP government.
Oh, I figured you were in the English literature world.
Thank you.
I don't know why, but
thank you. That suggests maybe a perception of being well-read.
Is that by choice? Government?
Well, it's a natural fit with the law background to go right into.
Yeah.
In fact, in Missouri, they have an alternative to get to a teaching license or certificate. They call it the doctoral route. So if you get the terminal degree in a field and want to teach in that area.
Really?
Yeah, and so for law, a Juris Doctor, a JD, is a terminal degree.
Okay.
And if so, you may get. I had to pass one test on pedagogy.
Have looked that word up more times than I can recall, and it never stuck.
It's like the theory of learning.
Yeah. That's why do we need to make a word for that?
A theory about the theory of the theory.
Yeah, from the.
So it was natural to be able to like, oh, boom, take the one test, which I studied for and did all that.
Yeah. So you tell your students
all the time that this is not normal.
Good for you.
This is not. Do not accept this. This is crazy.
So they know more or less where your flag is planted. If they're paying.
I try to not be so overt. And these are a bunch of 17, 18-year-old girls who are smart.
That's right, all girls.
They're educated. They're
Good.
pretty well informed, and they've got their own opinions already. So what I say isn't really going to sway them one way. Like, we're all pretty set by then.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, parents, even through the teen years, are the number one biggest determining factor of one's political leanings. It's not.
Sure.
It's not peers.
Right.
So like they're very much a product of where they came
Peers
from.
is covering all the other bases. It's just that one.
That other one. Yeah. What's the word for it? Oh, I need to know this word for like units 4 or 5 in AP. Oh, political socialization.
Oh, interesting.
That's
okay.
the term. But I'm like, two impeachments of person in the Oval Office. Like, okay, here's the total history of American impeachments. Andrew Johnson, because after the Civil War, he fired the Secretary of War, and Congress made this law of you can't do that, which the Supreme Court, anyway, that was one. He was not removed from office. Nixon.
I thought he resigned before they could impeach him.
That's exactly right. The proceedings were happening. I think the House was, if I'm not mistaken, debating the articles, like writing the articles of impeachment, which then would get passed. And the written articles, some little page or intern or somebody takes a little piece of paper over to the Senate and like, here you go.
I did that for a day.
From the House?
In Topeka.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
And they do the trial in the Senate. So I don't think it even reached the point where the articles are passed for Nixon. So that's second, and that's an almost.
I'm saying we're still on one. So
we're still on one, maybe 1.5-ish, 1.1.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton for a blowjob.
Did that actually go through?
He was not removed. He was impeached. So impeachment is the passing in the House of the accusation, the articles of impeachment. So and so lied under oath.
I grew up thinking that if that happens to you, you're fired. You're done being president, which turns out isn't the case. So Clinton did actually
He was impeached. There was the trial, and he was not removed for.
What's the point then of impeaching if you don't remove?
Well, it's different decision makers. The House votes whether or not to impeach. That's a formal accusation. The Senate does the trial. The Senate essentially is the jury. Which is how, if you look at the numbers, how in neither Trump impeachment was he removed, because not enough Republicans sided with the Democrats. Some did, especially in the second one, Romney. I think Susan Collins of Maine, who's got a little bit, Maine's kind of got an independent streak there.
Interesting.
There are other senators, an independent who caucuses with the Democrats. So even the Dem is kind of an independent streak from Maine. She kind of will buck the, maybe Susan Murkowski, a Republican from Alaska, I think, but they couldn't get to 2/3. You know, that's when it was 50-50. The Senate was 50-50 because Kamala Harris, it was already with Biden and Harris in office. Vice President Harris was the vice president then, making her president of the Senate, who it is said is at the same time the most powerful and least, or the most important and the least important person in the Senate.
No kidding?
Because they have no power until there's a tie.
Oh.
And then they're the most important person.
I see.
In an impeachment, they don't get a vote. An impeachment trial, she doesn't get a vote. But my point is, with that memory, we can deduce it was 50-50 at that time. It was February of 21, the second Trump impeachment over January 6th, because it took some weeks.
God, has it been that long?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Weird.
Right? It'll be 4 weeks from January 6th coming up.
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
So 50-50, meaning they would have had to get for 2/3 17 Republicans, with assuming all 50 Democrats, which included 2 independents, Angus King and Bernie Sanders, who caucused with the Dems. So yeah, it's a different thing, both chambers. And so back to the what's not normal. Well, an insurrection of our capital, not normal.
So he's 50% of U.S. impeachments. If we just give Nixon a pass.
Yeah, I believe that's
half.
Right.
Wow.
And it's not like the first one was great either.
No.
It was blackmailing Ukraine.
Yeah.
We had passed like $400 million worth of aid. Zelensky, the one we see in the press, who's always still in fatigues and stuff everywhere he goes to remind the world that they're still in a war. He was newly elected. He's on the phone with Trump on one of those like formal calls with, each side, they probably had half a dozen staffers on the call with them. And that's when Trump was like, well, before I send that $400 million in military aid to you to help protect you from a Russian invasion, which is what it was for, he didn't say that, but before I send that money along that's already been approved by Congress, first I need you to do me a favor, though, which was to announce there's an investigation of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in Ukraine.
God's sakes. Okay.
Didn't matter what, just announce an investigation for whatever.
I watched a TikTok this morning where a dude that was on his staff, who he swears he never met, and then the end of the TikTok with a picture of the two of them shaking it.
There's so many of those. Yeah.
He goes, all they can really say is that we get in a room with him and you quickly realize that he's a complete idiot. And he shares, the whole point of the thing is that he shares this memory of him coming into a room and being like, I want you to find out how much it would cost to build a moat along the border and fill it with alligators and snakes.
I had heard about the moat thing. I guess in the recesses of my brain, I hope maybe my brain filed it under hope it's not true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look it up.
Well, and his point was people want to talk about his agenda. He never had an agenda. He's completely winging everything, and he's a moron.
He's winging it. Yeah, he's absolutely winging it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's Anna.
Which is good for those who disagree with where he professes to the beliefs he professes or puts out there as his beliefs. It's pretty tough to actually pin him down on like a heartfelt belief. But those who disagree with him, no, I forgot what I was going to say. Actually,
Well, you know, Anna got pretty jazzed for both Obama campaigns and did quite a bit of volunteering for the first one. I mean, it was 5 years, no, 2 years, I guess, before either of us would become parents.
yeah. So first one was '08.
Yeah. So she gets like, she's really freaking jazzed right now and has committed herself to whatever. And whenever we have a transition, I feel like she's sprinkling factoids, how much money has been raised since blah, blah, blah. And all these people, blah, blah. And I'm like, I want you to stop telling me because it's the Shawshank. Is hope a dangerous thing per Red, or is it a beautiful thing per Andy? And it's like, I don't, if whatever it is, $82 million, and I'm sure that number will
Within a
grow.
day.
I'm sure that number will grow
Yeah.
largely. And then what? If it is all for naught, like that's a shitload of money to go to waste.
But they also had, I think, 100,000 people sign up to volunteer for the campaign too.
Yeah.
So,
But
in partial response to your question, partial. So there will be people, and like the energy should continue, right? If you fire up 100,000 people, and I saw this in the Obama campaign, part of what the Obama campaign was so effective at doing was engaging people, phone banks, door to door.
that's what she signed up for, phone banks. Yeah.
And the more times, it's like sales, which you can understand, the more touches you get, the more likely, the more loyalty for an existing customer.
Am I hearing optimism coming from across the table?
I think yes. So 4 years ago, I believed, like some others, that Joe Biden was the only Democrat who could beat Trump because Joe Biden could siphon off enough of the disillusioned white guy vote, the middle class that, doesn't necessarily recognize the true causes of why their wages have stagnated, why they have trouble with employment or whatever, why they'll look around, my family's been here 150 years, why am I still living in a trailer, but there's billionaires, it must be somebody else's fault besides mine, that whole disillusioned class. And not all fantasy, some of it warranted too. Opioid crisis, the transition in coal country away from fossil fuels, which is good, but it's a dilemma. Like all kinds of causes. Joe Biden was the only, he had the blue collar credentials to appeal to enough to siphon him off. So I believed then. This time around, I don't think the dynamics have changed enough. Enough has transpired, I believe, and maybe most importantly, women are really, really fired up since the Dobbs decision to vote. So Dobbs was the decision the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. It's Dobbs versus whatever women's clinic. 2 months after that, Kansas had a vote. You probably remember that there's an amendment on the ballot to clarify by amending the Constitution of Kansas that it is not a constitutional right to an abortion in Kansas. And the voter turnout for an August election was like ridiculous.
Really?
I'm not going to try to say the numbers, but it was huge turnout. There was something like 150 or 200,000 first-time voters or voters who had not voted in more than 5 or 10 years or something. So it could have been first time and reactivated voters.
Okay.
Huge, and it failed by a 2/3 majority. It was 62-38 or something like that, which is a landslide in political science terms.
Yeah.
As I look around, the sense I have, feeling which way the wind blows. Women more than men are really, really fired up about it still. Still.
What about and
So point being, like, and now having a woman, just to finish the thought, having Kamala Harris at the ticket, not Joe Biden, who's the concerns are valid. I didn't watch the debate. I heard about it. I heard
Same.
my friends say it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't need to bother.
Yeah.
It sounded troubling, and I took their word for
Yeah.
it. And it makes sense. Like, you're not going to be the same person at 84 that you are at 54
no, no,
or 64,
right,
or even 74. So you put a woman at the top of the ticket, the potential for a woman president, who also, so I guess is circling back to your question of like optimism. Well, we also have a prosecutor, former prosecutor. She was a district attorney in San Francisco, and then she was a state attorney general for California before becoming a senator, Harris. So much of what Republicans have, I think it goes probably back to part of Nixon's Southern strategy of law and order, and like Law and Order and Back the Blue and all of these things. There's going to be a real distinct difference between one of us was law enforcement at very high levels. The other candidate is a convicted felon who, by the way, a court has adjudicated raped a woman in a department store in the late 80s. And something like 24 other women have credibly accused of rape too. So like, that's the person and this is the person. And I don't know if you would have watched the Kavanaugh Supreme Court hearings when he's being asked by the Senate Judiciary Committee all these questions, you know.
Is that the dude that was?
I've always liked beer. I love beer.
Yeah.
I'll have another beer.
Yeah. Speaking of, can I steal one of those from your?
Oh, sure. In that,
Thank you.
in that hearing is where Kamala Harris got a lot of people's attention. Trump had nominated Kavanaugh, who was a lawyer. He had been in the Bush
Cheers.
White House, the W White House. She absolutely grilled him like a prosecutor would on cross-examination. And if she does that on the campaign trail of just the prosecution cross-examining, pointing out, closing argument of like, dude, his charity has like had to go out of business because of widespread fraud. Like it's barred from being a charity in New York anymore. His business convicted of financial fraud, including his longtime CFO. I saw a visual the other day of all the people in the Trump orbit who've gone to prison. And it's kind of staggering.
Yeah.
It's like 20.
One would be raise an eyebrow.
Right. This is like 20.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Including his 2020 or 2016 campaign chair, Paul Manafort, who was in the pocket for the Russians. Like,
so, a lot of some things that I see right now, people are concerned about the Supreme Court and going back to Obama. Was it Merrick Garland? No. Was that who he picked, and then it got blocked?
Yeah, so Merrick Garland was on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals.
Okay.
So there's 13, I think I have that right, 13 Circuit Courts of Appeals. They're typically geographic. D.C. has its own. He had to go through as all federal judges do, he had to go through the appointment process to get that job. I believe his vote then was something like 97-3 in the Senate. 97 were like, he's qualified to be a Court of Appeals judge in the federal courts. February of, this would be 2016. So Obama's
Wrapping up.
I mean, he's got 11 months left.
Yeah.
So almost a fourth of his term left. But it's election year, very early. And Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell he wouldn't meet with them. He wouldn't give them a hearing. He said, let the voters decide. And so it languished there until, one of the first things Trump did in office was nominate. Was it Kavanaugh? I can't remember if that was Kavanaugh or Gorsuch or what's the other one he did? Coney. It wasn't Coney Barrett, so it was either Gorsuch or Kavanaugh. I can't remember which. Who presumably took Merrick Garland's seat, who's now the Attorney General of the United States under Biden.
Wasn't there some element of illegality to not seeing that process through? And
there's a constitutional obligation. It's the way what it's called in the Constitution is advice and consent. The president shall nominate all federal judges who shall serve or who, with advice and consent of the Senate, shall serve during good behavior, something like that, which is a life appointment, good behavior.
Is there...
So are they, by sitting on it for 11 months, were they, the Constitution says, shall give advice and consent. I mean, there's definitely a good argument that they failed in that regard.
So is there a concern is there rightful concern with the way that the Supreme Court is right now?
Well, there's a part 2 to the Obama thing.
Oh,
by the way.
Okay.
So Mitch McConnell presumably set a precedent. It's an election year, so let the voters decide, is what he said.
Interesting.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, do you know when she died?
It's been fairly recently.
So she died this would have been September of 2020.
God, okay. All right.
And much closer to the election. In fact, I think ballots are already in the mail to places that do mail-in balloting. Like my dad lives in Seattle, and like it's all through the mail.
Wow.
You don't go like vote at the polling place in Washington State. That's not a thing anymore. So ballots are out overseas, military, people living abroad, their ballots are out on like October 24th. So like a week or two before the actual election day, that's when he put in Amy Coney Barrett, because Mitch McConnell was Senate Majority Leader and, ole, come on through. So
instead of letting the voters decide?
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're obviously picking up on the hypocrisy there.
Mitch McConnell recently pivoted in some sense.
Well, he's not a Trump acolyte. He doesn't bow to Trump, but he sees Trump for what he is, as okay, he's like can move the ball forward in ways that Mitch McConnell wants the ball moved down the field.
Right. Okay.
But back to the Supreme Court as a whole. So now we have a 6-3 very conservative majority. The last couple of years, problematically, what's been disclosed through ProPublica, which is a nonprofit investigative reporting outlet, ProPublica. There are all these conflicts of interest and financial things going on that most people would be like, wait, what? No, you don't do that. Particularly with regard to Clarence Thomas. So things like somehow along the way he got a billionaire friend named Harlan Crow. And Harlan's done things like from time to time had business in the court, by the way, and has submitted friend of the court briefs of like, hey, third party disinterested, like, but here's some information that might help you, Supreme Court. An amicus brief, friend of the court. He's taken him on all these like private jet, private yacht vacations. He bought Clarence Thomas's mom's house. Doesn't sound like an arm's length transaction, and there's more too.
Wow.
So then you mix in things like his wife Jenny Thomas being like very active in Republican politics, including on January 6th, like being on the phone with these people as January 6th is happening, and then like also being a major election denier too, Okay, so
Election denier refers to people that say it was stolen or whatever.
yeah,
There was
that
meddling.
there was who say there was widespread voter fraud.
That's fun.
Yeah. Then you've also got, so this is in the context of what's going on at the Supreme Court. Those on the left would then next point to Samuel Alito, who's been on the court since like '02. I believe he's a George W. Bush appointee. Real acerbic, really at times nasty opinions,
Oh,
like verbally, like disrespectful and things, intellectually disrespectful, professionally disrespectful
sounds right
to
for a
peers,
judge.
right? So two things recently with him. One, he at his vacation home, there was seen a white supremacist, like a right wing flag being flown. It dates back. It's dates back to the Revolution. It's like a pine tree or something, but it's been co-opted by the alt right in more recent days. And then outside his home also flew the U.S. flag for some period of time upside down. I think after the election, actually after the 2020 election.
Oh boy. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, that's an international sign of distress, like ship sinking, or hey, we're stranded, we're starving down here on this island. Please help us. Right? It's like
Yeah.
a sign of distress. Help! Send help!
Okay. Not disrespect, distress.
Distress.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the distress immediately in January of 2020? It's the steal, it's my air quotes, steal of the election. So those are the two intellectual, more air quotes, intellectual thought leaders and the most conservative on that side. On the liberal side, there's three women holding it down.
Actually, holding it down, meaning
That's it. Like, so there's a lot of 6-3 decisions happening. Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and most recently Ketanji Brown Jackson. Biden had promised to put a black woman on the court, and he did.
okay.
She's phenomenal.
Cool.
She's really phenomenal.
You can do something like that. Like I'm gonna
Well, you can say it's up to the Senate.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So he nominated a black woman
I
who,
see.
by whatever measure, was qualified.
Sure.
Objective.
Right.
Subjectively, people would say, "Oh, I disagree with this or that," but like objectively,
Yeah. Yeah.
a very qualified person. So that's the balance. I explain the Supreme Court like a pendulum to my students, and this is when I pull out the yardstick at the front of the class, and I say, there's this period and it's left and right, respectively, like from your perspective, left's liberal, obviously right, conservative. Somewhere around, there's a buildup probably during FDR. The court started moving left. He got a lot of decisions, a lot of stuff done. Very effective president. He was a Democrat. He was liberal. A lot of social programs. Oversaw the growth of the federal government itself, with creating all the agencies to get us out of depression. Mm-hmm. That pendulum didn't reach maximum until probably the late 60s. And what's happening over here is things like, but in the 50s, Brown versus Board, but ultimately by 72, we get Roe versus Wade. That's about peak left, and the pendulum has been swinging back. And if I were to say, okay, constitutional scholars would correct me on the timing of like where exactly, but probably somewhere in the 80s, it swung back. And what has happened is we're not here. It has not fully swung.
Wow. That's alarming.
Well, it's 6-3. And Thomas is the oldest. He's like 77-ish, I think, something like that. Sotomayor is like 72. But in recent decades, the trend is to nominate people in their 40s because they're going to be on the court for 30 or 40 years. So
okay.
our 6'3" is going to keep on being for a while.
Yikes.
So another example of what's happened with the Supreme Court this year is they struck down what was called the Chevron rule.
Okay.
It was named after a case that involved Chevron. So just like we refer to Dobbs or Roe, Chevron was the case. And what Chevron said was, if Congress makes a law, and I'm distilling it down.
Thank you for
a
doing
lot.
that.
Congress can't possibly make a law that covers every circumstance, every single possible scenario, right? So what Chevron said was, that's where the opinion of the subject matter experts who work in the agencies come in. The EPA, Labor Department, Department of Energy, Transportation, FAA, whatever it is, and the rulemaking and the decisions they make in the process. Those things were given great deference. The courts, federal courts, since Chevron in 82, 83, gave great deference. We will defer to you, subject matter experts. This is your job. You do it all the time. How you fill in those gaps of Congress's laws, the little gaps here and there, will defer to your interpretation unless it is like so off the wall that it's like, no, we can't do the crazy dance.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court struck that down this summer. They said no longer would federal agencies get deference, which means judges, whatever judge pulls a case, they don't defer to anybody else. They get to decide.
Why would that change come about?
Well, the Supreme Court struck down Chevron. They reversed it.
Why was that even up for debate?
This particular case had to do with, I think it was fishermen or lobstermen in women in Maine. And the facts...
Fisher people and lobster people. Yeah.
I think that Jim Carrey did that in one movie, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Part of the regulatory scheme for controlling or ensuring the population of the wildlife was being taken care of, something like that, they had to pay for the regulator to be on the boat with them. And someone challenged that of like, why do I have to pay this agency? The Congress didn't make a law saying that you have to pay for a regulator to be on your boat to make sure you don't catch too many fish and all the fish die up. The regulator did, EPA or what, Interior Department, whoever it was. And so they challenged that, and that's how it ended up. And the Supreme Court said, in fact, any deference, we're overturning Chevron.
So now back to the judge.
Back to whatever judge pulls a particular case.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're the expert. Or they should say, they don't have to listen to the experts or give any deference at all. They don't have to defer at all. They don't have to wait until it's like, oh, that's really crazy, before they can rule something a federal agency does unconstitutional.
Okay, so big picture, that means...
Big picture, that means a strengthening of individual judges and a weakening of government enforcement agencies being able to enforce federal law.
A weakening of government agencies being able to enforce federal law doesn't sound like a good thing.
Mm-mm. Especially, it's a good thing we're not in a climate crisis where,
Right.
It might be important to have clean air or something.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can we?
When you are in tune with what's going on, it gets scarier.
Yeah, that's why it's better.
Sorry.
To not be in tune, because you can just keep it over here. I keep all of my scary concern in your home office. Just, put it over there. Yeah.
Don't have to sit. What did the organizer call it? Delayed.
These are delayed decisions.
Delayed decisions.
That's not why you're here. I don't need you to fix me.
That
I
sounds
need you
like
to
that
fix
sounds like
the
a judgment
situation I
term.
created. Yeah,
That feels like judgment.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. She meant it helpfully, but I was like, ooh, I just need you to
Tell
help
me when to make my decisions.
Can we? Is it okay to talk about for just a quick second your health journey?
Sure.
Okay, so here's
There's a great new chapter, by the way.
it's not all 100%
No,
review.
well, so
Here's what I remember.
but let me
Okay,
let me give you a
yes.
new chapter.
Okay.
Not related.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because it's very fresh. And
Yeah.
It's
Please do.
entertaining.
Yeah.
And timely. We both camped together with our sons this summer,
Yes.
and it was hot as fill in the blank.
as
simile.
usual, per usual.
No swimming pool
Yeah.
available at the time.
Yeah.
We all just wanted to get out of there, right? The last morning, I woke up with a tick in my...
We texted about this.
Yeah.
We went to a walk-in clinic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And they took it out, and it was... so it was bitten sometime roughly between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. when I found it. In the morning, there was like a pink, about the size of an eye around it, and it was more like maybe 2 by 1.5 inches by the time. Like I came home, showered, went straight to the walk-in clinic. They gave me doxycycline.
we didn't leave there until like 4 o'clock. You noticed this in the morning?
I noticed it in the morning.
I'm surprised you didn't. But you took it out.
I took it out myself. Yeah, kept the tick, which has proved crucial because
This is insane. Where did you put it?
I think I then folded it up like a couple times in a piece of paper and put
Gotcha.
it in a secure place.
Okay.
Origami it.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Uh-huh.
That's the tick. And then in the car, I had like a little tiny baggie. I don't know where it came from. Maybe buying something at the trading post or something, and I like took it out and put it in the
Yeah. So size of an eye?
not the tick itself, the pinkness.
The wound,
Yeah,
if
it
you
was,
will.
Like alarming, like, oh, that's not right. About a week ago,
Here, and I've been thinking since the day of those texts that you're insane for going to a walk-in clinic over a tick.
oh,
I didn't know that you didn't tell me that there was.
so hold on. So I researched, and as it's gone on, I thought, and I asked Maria, I was like, do you think I should send the tick in to have it tested? It's like $175. And she's like, if it caused that pinkness, she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I will. So I did. There's something called the Pennsylvania tick something. It's like the East Pennsylvania.
You're not making this up.
Oh, no.
You mailed your tick, your saved tick, to an organization, an institution.
And they do like genetic testing. So they take out of the tick and they find out what viruses, bacteria,
Did you
parasites.
put this tick through your what do you call American camp? What do you call those things?
The multi-tool?
Yeah, what is that called?
Mine's a Gerber multi-tool. There's also a Leatherman.
Okay, but you always get it with the pliers, if you will, and you're meticulous. You're meticulous about making sure it's...
Add that to the list. Rewind to the beginning. Dad, husband, father of 3, meticulous. Oh,
tick murderer.
Oh,
Anyway,
I just got the pun.
Yeah, well. So
I sent it in.
yes,
About a week ago. It was a week ago today.
even after the damage, I imagine you caused,
flattened
they can
state.
still
Yeah.
find stuff.
Yeah, they tested.
Good job, science.
Yeah. Science is real
I mean, to some of us.
to some of us. Yeah, it's like the Pennsylvania Tick Lab or something like that. It's run through a really small university, but it's like at a university there can be like one person, one professor that like has this golden, I'm going to mix metaphors, has this golden goose and like picks it up and runs with it. right?
Sure.
Mixed metaphors, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Of like, it doesn't matter what university, if you've got a super smart, motivated person who's in a unique area and they do things with it. So it's like East Carlisle, Pennsylvania, or East Carlisle University or something. It doesn't matter. So I sent it in, and by Tuesday they sent me a preliminary result indicating not one, the tick tested positive for not one, but two different varieties of the bacteria that cause Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
What? Mm-hmm. That's not a thing that people are worried about today.
Well, most of what I hear is Lyme disease, and people are worried about the one that makes you allergic to red meat, which
I only knew Lyme disease.
there's one of those. It's like affects
But Rocky Mountain spotted fever is in our rear view mostly. People don't like get that currently, do they?
Well, it's a bacterial infection.
Oh,
So having went to the clinic so promptly and got doxycycline, which is the ideal treatment, that it probably wiped it out
in your body.
in my body.
Okay.
Yesterday, the final report showed up in the inbox, and it said, "Oh, there's this other thing called Borrelia." I had to look it up. It's not a household name, and it is a parasite that basically attacks red blood cells and goes after them in a similar way to malaria.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it was transmitted to me.
Right.
But that tick, they found the genetics of that Borrelia, whatever, parasite.
Does these results, does it feel like they're is there a person behind it? Is there anybody being like, it was right call to send us this? This is good info here, or no?
No, it's pretty formulaic.
Okay.
But they did send updates like one can pay an extra $50 to be put right at the top of the line. I didn't, but I sent it UPS Saturday. It was supposed to get there Monday or Tuesday. They sent me preliminaries Tuesday the same week. I believe it was last week. I don't think I'm getting my weeks mixed up. Even so, even if it were 2 weeks, that's still, I think, pretty fast for genetic testing on a tick. And then
East
by
Carlisle's
Friday,
not fucking around, man. Take this shit seriously. Wow. So when you got this drug at the walk-in, did all the symptoms go away, or
I
were
wasn't
they?
have swim other than the pink puffy
Yeah, that's what I mean.
infection
Yeah.
at the site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had me drawn. They're like, outline it in Sharpie and just have your wife keep an eye on, like, make sure it's not growing.
Oh, smart.
And it stayed about the same, but got less and less pink. And I went on the 10-day course and finished it.
It's a 10-day drug?
Of doxycycline, yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hardcore antibiotic, doxycycline.
Is it?
It's a...
I'm not familiar. Mm-hmm. You don't get it for strep throat.
I almost took it at home. I kept an old one from like a little surgery. I don't know, it was like a thumb little trigger finger thing I had a few years ago. Not a big deal, but they're like, just in case, we're going to prescribe this, fill it. If you see any sign, start taking it. It was one of those. Didn't need it. Kept it, though.
Yeah.
But it was like 7 years old, and I was like,
here's where I get...
I think I'm going to go to the clinic instead.
I'm sure that science has a solid way of explaining this to me somehow. Even if it were to, I don't know that I would believe it, because where I go is, how in the fuck can this shit expire? I don't know. It's not.
It's not like
2% in the
all
fridge.
All of a sudden,
yeah.
It just like flips, like shuts down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's some degradation of performance. I don't know. So where we are now with my health is, I don't know if my doctor on the whatever you log in, what do they call it, the portal?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not trying to be, like, I'm sure it drives you crazy. People get on the internet, do their own research. It's like, I just want to share, this is what I found. I got my physical in 3 weeks anyway. Can we do the labs ahead of time? I have this lab report saying this. Columbia University's Lyme and Tick-Borne Illness Center says the way to detect it is through a blood smear using this or this. Can we please do that? And I'm waiting.
Oh, okay.
It's not a priority for the medical office this weekend.
Right.
Feels like a priority to me because I'm like, okay, what's happening in there with my blood cells? Don't know.
How involved have you had the same PCP for a good little while?
2 years.
Oh, okay. So
My
this
other
person
one was in his 80s, still very competent, hardworking. He had like triple the patient load of most doctors because he worked till 8 o'clock every night, but he hung it up during COVID. He was like, I'm in my 80s. I don't need to be doing this anymore.
Okay.
So I got sort of transferred over.
The stuff that you went through, distilled down to whatever is still working up here, is there was kind of always an element of mystery. Like it kind of came out of nowhere, and people didn't know what it was, and the only thing I really retained was a hole in the spine, and fluids were leaking, and like for a minute it was like, I mean, outsider looking in, I remember for a moment, and by a moment I mean a handful of months or whatever, like, oh shit, this is starting to feel scary.
Oh yeah.
What was it, and was that happening for you? Obviously the inside, was it scary?
Yeah, well, the timing wasn't great either because it really kicked in about mid-November 2016. So like
Way to bring it back.
there were strange things afoot on the outside. There were strange things afoot on the inside. So
you're not positing that
causation? No. Correlation.
He took office and my spine just opened up like
a chasm. So it's a herniated disc.
What?
A disc herniated in an unusual place. That's usually like a lower back thing, I think. Mine was in the thoracic. So usually that's like a neck or low down lumbar. This is thoracic. So basically straight back from the heart, like in the sternum. A disc herniated. So it got dislodged between its place between vertebrae. Right? It's usually that little flexible pad. And it went out of place and it calcified. So the body hardened it with calcium, but it continued to herniate, and it had this little point, and boom, boom, press,
shit,
up against the lining around the spine, and then finally, and sprang a leak. And so
But they didn't know that like day one, right?
No, I went in for tests, and it was Thanksgiving Day, and how one diagnoses that is by doing a spinal tap,
right?
Which has a different name. I can't remember. Lumbar puncture.
Doesn't have quite the ring to it.
No.
Doesn't make me think it goes to 11.
No, 2 at best. Went in on Thanksgiving Day, so I got the whoever drew being on call on Thanksgiving Day, and they were poking around. They did 4. They couldn't get it right, and so they just kind of mushed up the place, at which point none of the samples would have been good, because the working theory was with the symptoms it was indicative of meningitis, which the way to diagnose it is to pull out some fluid and see if you see the infection, bacterial or viral.
Spinal fluid?
In the spinal fluid. That's meningitis.
Okay.
Meninges that's what it is. Itis is the disease of. After that, there's a certain amount of time that passed where, they weren't going to go mess around in the lumbar again. And they treated it as if it were meningitis. But as the symptoms continued, they're like, well, maybe you had also a fluid leak from all of the pokes. So then I was treated with what's called a blood patch. They take your own blood. So like draw out tube of blood, no big deal. And then they inject that into your spinal column. And the same things that I think they might have put it, I think they put it through a centrifuge and only get the stuff that is basically like scab if you had a cut. Give your spine its own scabby stuff to heal.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit of improvement, but like things kept on going, and it was like this
Over months, right?
over months. Yeah, it was lingering things, and like this doesn't make sense. So that's when I went to the Mayo Clinic, and they did a
I mean, your mobility at some point was. I feel like if I only saw you coming and going at 9 o'clock mass, I feel like at least your pace slowed in comparison to the rest of your family.
for sure. Like there were months where it was one of the effects is what's called orthostatic headaches. So upright, crushing headache, lay down, goes away, come up, lay down, So it was a couple months of literally like laying. Also had extreme sensitivity to light.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then also that's photophobia, and then hyperacusis, which is the threshold for auditory discomfort came down by like 25 or 30 decibels.
Wow.
So like
That's not nothing.
that's not nothing. No, it was like the world was really, really loud.
Everybody shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And do you have a dimmer on that also while we're here?
Dad, we're not on 11, we're only on 2. Turn that down. And then there's also an eye patch for months too, because
There it is. Yeah.
apparently the nerves and muscles, there's like a 1-to-1 relationship for certain muscles. Like each eye has a muscle that moves it that way and that way and that and that. And it's, I think it was a fourth nerve palsy or something like that. So the one that made the left eye move left, there was just damage there. So
As a result of all this stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So
because everything comes from the spine, right?
The fluids,
the
the brain and the spine, the fluids all one, cerebrospinal. And if it's leaking, there's not enough pressure, so the brain sags down a little.
Ugh.
There are certain parts of the brain that will increase in size. I think maybe the pituitary, I'm not sure. But some of them, so I saw the scans, they're like, look at that, that's like twice as big as it. This is months
Atlas. Later. They got to get bigger to hold the weight?
Something to like fill it out. But it tugs on all the nerves, the sensory nerves.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So like I've got permanent ringing in this ear.
Today?
Yeah, I don't think about it much, but it's tinnitus or tinnitus, some people call it. Mm-hmm. But that's what was responsible for all these other things. I can't taste sugar anymore. I can't taste sweet.
Really?
Because the nerve that goes to the front of the tongue, somehow the sag...
Ran over it with the car.
Ran over with the car.
Well...
Yeah. But when you saw me with mobility, it's probably because the surgery they did is they had to, there are these nubs on the back of your spine called lamina. They kind of like stick out.
Mm-hmm.
That it cut those off at 2 levels to give access. And they sort of cut through the muscle and, push the spine to the side and go in, and they stitched up the hole with silk and put this like little foam stuff in there. And then they kind of stitched their way back out of the spine.
Whoa.
But the doctor said this is going to be really uncomfortable because that's not a place where there's a lot going on there. And to have all of that swelling, they just told me it's going to be really painful, which it was. Truth.
Like breaking a bunch of ribs or something? Not
Yeah.
better or worse, but they say everything hurts if you break a rib. Coughing, sneezing, sitting, lay down.
I haven't had that
Laughing.
one, so yeah, I can see all that. This was just a constant. It wasn't even with breaths or anything.
Oh, sweet. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So,
That's when I learned that you always want to say your pain's a 10 too.
Yeah, right?
Because they're like, where's your pain at? And I was like, well,
26.
if 10 is a give me a gun right now so that I can put it in my mouth and kill myself. For me, that's 10. Like,
Yeah.
would I kill myself in this moment? That's a 10. And I was like, I'm at like a 7. They took that to mean he's doing okay. We'll just see what the doctor says in the morning. It was really painful. But after that, the healing was so precarious that I just need to be really careful with movement. Like there's a lot of swelling there.
Sure.
So it was all about if I were to fall or twist or something, like it just undoes the whole thing.
Time-wise, from the origin of the symptoms to like, man,
Like
you finally nailed this.
to had the surgery or like healed?
Healed.
It's tough to say because I should put this. So much of it would require that the evidence could only be given anecdotally from me of like, how are you doing? How is it feeling? Do you have a headache? Like that's all perception, right? There wouldn't be, the doctors can't go in and like with a microscope or probe or something see is the hole still there, is the leak, like they weren't going to do a spinal tap to see if the pressure is good on the spine, on the spinal fluid, which they can do. They can put the needle in and see like what's the pressure of the fluid,
But they didn't want to.
they're not going to mess around with all that. So it's like, okay, how you feeling, like symptom wise, whatever.
This isn't like April 11th 2009 was the day they told me I was cancer free, and I have it's totally different.
And here's why: the organ, the brain's the organ that was affected most greatly, and it's also the organ that was relied upon to determine whether like where it was in the healing process, because there was more. A lot of it. There were also psychological or cognitive implications too. So one of the things they told me is I would experience, and it would heal, it would end, but I would be experiencing, and would continue to experience something akin to like old age, not senile. That's like a charged term, but like,
yes, not like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's,
that stuff.
Dementia.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So, why did I come in this room? What was I doing? And I definitely had that stuff. And like, where does that end? In like, just a gradual. It was really hard to tell.
Huh.
So
I mean, years. Like really. I mean, you today in 2024, more or less, you're healthy.
Yeah. I would say I'm beyond it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quick by any stretch.
I'd say a good year or two, or even 3.
And did that overlap with the closing of your practice, or was that COVID?
It's why I had to close my practice, because
who knows when this is gonna.
I was laying down for 2 months. Like I can't go to court, I can't go to the office, I can't stand up, I can barely stand to like pee before it's a crushing headache and I gotta lay back down. So had to like find places for my cases to go, other lawyers to take them.
Damn.
And laid off my staff, closed my office.
Do you miss it at all?
No. Socially, I miss the lawyers who I was not as close of friends with, but like socially would see them at happy hours or bar luncheon or those things, and we would talk and socialize, have a good time.
It's a good outlet.
I miss that.
Yeah.
But like the practice of it, you're a literature guy, so you recognize what I'm saying when I describe the litigation practice as basically living with like 20 antagonists, an opposing counsel for each case who's trying to reverse, undo, outdo, undermine, whatever what I'm trying to do. Someone's trying to row the boat the other way for 20 cases or however many you have. It's
Wow.
that's other people can do that. I mean, I was
Good at it.
results wise, I was good at it, but it was very unhealthy for me. I couldn't,
Sure.
I'm not built for that.
Yeah.
I can't.
Did I tell you about jury duty?
No, but I'd love to hear about it.
So I get it. It's a fuck. I got it.
That's
years
that's the
years
most common.
ago. The old house, pre-kids,
Oh.
freshly married, and it said, "Call this number after 5 the evening prior."
Yeah, Sunday night.
And
Yeah.
Sunday night, and I called, and they're like, "It's no mas," and I was like, "Yes." And so I didn't for years, and then something like came a year ago or so, and I was like, God damn it! Like I was torn because like right then I had a bunch of shit going on, and I was like, I'm probably also always gonna have a bunch of shit going on whenever I get this.
It's never a good time.
So one day I was like messing around, and I was like, oh, you can have it pushed 6 months.
Ooh,
So I did that, and then
6.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
and I was wildly curious. How soon do you get thrown back into the cycle? And I mean, it was like to the T, bam. I was like, God damn, they're not fucking around. It's like East Carlisle up in here. So I get on the thing again to see if there's a way, and that button's
Oh,
gone.
no. Yeah. No.
So I get there, and Katie Clune was in the room, and so hey, and I mean I had to make like 5 arrangements. There was baseball and piano, like it was crazy. And right as they're getting ready, we've been there about 3 hours. Right as they're getting ready to send us down, she gets paged, and they send her home. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Well, I mean, they probably know Matt's a lawyer, and that's probably enough." And I was like, "Okay." So we go down. There was 58 of us to start, 59, and now there's one less. And all rise, and here comes Marty Seaton as the judge. I was like, what the fuck? I had totally forgotten that he was a judge. And I was like, this is wild. And so here's how the day's going to go. Before we get started, I got to ask if anybody in the room thinks they know me. Juror number 9, how do you know me? And I was like, seriously? Like,
I gotta explain it.
we're
gonna do this.
kind of freshly coached your son in soccer. We go to the same church. He's like, so you're saying we go to church together? I'm like, yeah. And, okay. And then
Yeah.
prosecutor stands up. Ben Stevie's dad.
Oh,
He's-
plaintiff's lawyer. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Here's how it goes. I have to do the same thing. Does anybody in this room? I'm like, they're like, juror number 9 again. I'm like,
That's how you get kicked off a jury. By the way, the more you talk, the
I
easier
was
it is.
like, I don't,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's like, so how do you think you know me? And I was like, well, for starters, I know all 3 of your children and all of your grandchildren. I lived next door to one of your children.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And beyond that, I mean, your grandson and my son are like besties, which I actually said, and the whole courtroom laughed. And I could see he's got real detailed color-coded notes about all of the members of the jury. Like we're not to the case yet. And he's very well put together, he had a bow tie. And
He's a very good lawyer.
yeah. I've learned since that through most of his career, if he is in the middle of a trial, he's in bed by 7. And then, up and at it. And so I was like, God, he
Up
must...
at like 4.
Whatever. Yeah. And so
Wow.
where I go is Jesus, how much of the parenting did his wife have to
Yeah.
just go it alone for 18 years or whatever it was? Because
Yeah.
he was, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like he's thinking about the next thing while we're.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say the besties thing, he looks over and he's like, if you're telling me that your son is best friends with my grandson, that can only mean that you're Alehu's dad.
You always said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, or something that made me,
Mm-hmm.
how, and that was like the only time the whole day where the court, she's like, I'm sorry, what was that name? So, needless to say, I thought that would be two really good reasons to Katie Clune me out of there.
No?
It kept me all fucking day till 6. And I was like, and by the way, defendant, I mean, as soon as I know the judge, he was all over that shit. I mean, it was like every time and they had like 11 lawyers with him.
On the defense side?
Yeah.
Probably because it was a corporate defendant over a big money case.
It was.
That's what
and
the Stevie firm does. Stevie Siegel Hansen.
He was juror number 9.
They do really, really high stakes,
Yeah.
usually against really big corporations.
Yep, it was a big.
So yeah, there's like
pharmaceutical maybe.
that kind of shit.
But I swear to God, dude, that guy. Want to go back to juror number 9? I'm like, this motherfucker, God. And he was, it's like he felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so tell me about living next door to, he wanted to like
Oh yeah.
do that spinal poking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I was like, why am I still here? This is crazy. So I was just like, yep, no. Yeah. And finally he was like, oh, I see. You're not going to. It was like he was trying at one point.
He said, "Oh, I see."
Well, he was trying to get me to offer more information than was warranted.
Right.
But I smelled that shit out, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't have a side per se.
Mm-hmm.
My side is the one that gets me out of here. But
the side that would have gotten you out of there is
talking
more.
In the midst of doing all that, Pat Stevie is like, Your Honor, can I approach the bench? And I was like, oh, because it felt like this isn't the trial. Yeah, you're doing like trial-y kinds of shit, trying to get me to fucking give you some freebies. Mm-hmm. And Pat Stevie went up to the bench, and Marty hit a white noise button.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I was like, this is fucking bananas. And afterwards, the judge was like, Marty was basically like, knock that shit off. And I was like, oh, he smelled that shit and was like, Anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I enjoy hearing that stuff.
I mean,
I do miss the intellectual stimulation too. You asked me what I miss about the law practice, or do I miss it?
Yeah.
I also miss the intellectual stimulation. Not that what I do isn't, but it does not in this way. I 100% appreciate the whole story you just told because I get it. Those are the kinds of story, like, so if I'm socializing it could have been a lawyer telling me that from a lawyer's perspective, or it could have been Pat Stevie or his assistant counsel or somebody telling me that at a happy hour or something. Like, oh, no way, yeah. So those are the things.
Gotcha. So,
yes. Maria got on a murder jury this summer, by the way.
Oh, wow. Fascinating. Yeah. Did it take longer than a week?
Nope.
Damn. Okay, so the stuff that you went through and the tick, when you're at Nash and ticks are you
Uh-huh.
worried that you could be
That it would complicate?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. You just want to crush them out of his existence because they're disease carrying gross.
I really, really dislike the things that bite and suck our blood.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think I'd rather get bitten by an alligator than a tick carrying Lyme disease.
Well, I mean,
in New Zealand, they don't have anything that really bites, stings. Like, they don't have like venomous snakes or spiders, ticks, mosquitoes. Like, there's sharks in the ocean around it, but it's like the opposite of Australia across the Tasman Sea, where they've got like everything that could kill you.
Really?
New Zealand's got none of that.
Weird.
I know, it's
Huh.
beautiful. Or like we were in Estes Park a few weeks ago. It's like,
You were?
oh, glorious! Like barely saw any mosquitoes, and when I did, I was expecting them because I was fly fishing in this marshy place, and it was glorious, and I was prepared for it, and I didn't care. But like, where our cabin was,
All 5 of you?
no extended family, Maria's side.
But wife and kids were with you?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. But like, no, didn't worry about ticks out there.
Did you stay on the way to the Y? Where'd you stay?
Verbo House. First one downstream from the Y, actually. So whatever that highway is, 36 or something, I can't remember. It's like basically as the water goes under the bridge, it's the first house.
Okay. Cool.
So I fished over there a bunch.
Nice. I love Estes.
Walked the dog.
I lived
through
there
the
for a
YMCA.
while.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I went to Pitt State for a year, and a buddy did the Art Institute, and I was going to transfer to KU for sophomore year. And he was like, we should go work at the Y for the summer. And we did. And as it was wrapping up, I was like, what? Why would I go back to Kansas? So I was like, I'm not coming. Well, I took a year off and got in-state and
Sweet.
finished down in Durango and moved back here. I was out there for about 6 years, but lived in Estes, lived in Glen lived in my car. I mean, but the craziest thing to me...
Beautiful. I love that ecosystem.
Yes. Downtown Estes is not large, but goddamn, in the middle of the summer day, if there aren't a lot of cars...
It's a cluster.
And
it was
like,
under construction this year, too.
Oh,
so there are a bunch
damn.
of lanes closed.
Oh, wow. And like, this is 93, 94, and 50% of them were Johnson County plates in the summertime. It's like, this is crazy. I didn't know. I grew up all these years like hardly knowing about this place at all, and a lot of people from where I grew up
Yeah.
frequent. Anyway, boy, post Labor Day, wow.
Ghost Town?
Wow.
I bet it's glorious September.
It is, and it's nuts. It's also like
Someone flipped the switch, or that way.
yeah, and it's like you can feel even in just that one or two turns of season, that particular turns of season, folks sort of walking around half appreciating fall and the calm, the evaporation of the tourism, but also stealing a little bit for winter.
Trying to enjoy it before winter comes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
Because
then-
it's on borrowed time. By September, you're on borrowed time for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just not that it's subjected to harsh conditions or anything, but it gets cold and it gets dark early, and more or less, when darkness comes around, we're calling it a day.
And the sun sets early when you got a mountain cutting off 15% of the horizon. Those are short days already.
Yep. Yeah. But point being, I love all of Colorado, but Estes and Glen Haven, just special.
It was nice. Great hikes. Nice fishing. I can do without the touristy thing.
Yeah.
But we were, you know exactly how far out of town we were.
Yeah.
You can go in and we went in to look at the shops one day
Sure.
on a weekday. Otherwise avoided it.
Yeah. So I had Chirp as a note, really just to...
Full disclosure, we've met before.
We've met before. Chirp.
If we can get the Supreme Court doing half that kind of disclosure,
Right.
we'll be step in the right direction.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Chirp was a very fascinating... I was... No, 1,000 times no whenever people would hit me up to do it. And the only way I agreed to do it ultimately was Brandy Murphy made Ron, you do Chirp. Yeah, I think he did, just to be like, all right. And so he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do it." And I was like, "The only way is if like I'll, however it works, like I'll go to the thing, but I'm not doing a year's worth of weekly meetings afterwards," which changed for me 120 minutes into the weekend. I was like, I'm all about this. This is awesome. But what I really liked is the origin behind it, which is this idea of K through 8 families are very much focused, if you will, or at least present and participatory in their parish. And then as soon as those kids hit high school, life shifts, and your high school stuff's happening, whatever. But so now your focus is less on your parish, and so Chirp's origin story, I think, from Indiana,
Oh, I didn't know that was
maybe.
that all makes sense. I didn't know that.
How do we keep these families engaged beyond, which is always a fast. I always say, because somebody had to say it to me, you got to keep in mind that the school is a ministry of the church, right? At a Catholic school, the school may seem overarching and huge and like the biggest thing, but it's not happening without the church and the parish. This is a ministry, just like being a Eucharistic minister or whatever. So oh wow, yeah, that's fascinating. So I liked that idea a lot. Trying to keep folks dialed in, and I really really liked the experience. Where are you faith wise? Have you always been, a hard five right down the middle? Have you seen shifts across your time?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like anybody. You could even ask someone who's makes a lifelong commitment to be a nun or a priest, right? Like they have the gamut
Yeah.
over time. Um, I don't know. The best description that I've heard that aligns or it that if there were my words, the closest way that I could describe for myself, they weren't, but it was that God is love. And for a long time, I've believed in good and bad energy. Like, I think we have energy we put off.
1,000%.
And that making sure our existence is an amplification of the good. So the way I heard it described specifically a step further with regard to Christianity was, God is love. So love, good energy, like that's what, you might, I guess you could extrapolate that to, in the Catholic faith tradition, to the Holy Spirit, perhaps. And the person who described it to me went a step further and said, and Jesus was a representation of God's love in a way that humans could understand it. That's pretty good. Even in my moments of least faith, I've always believed that as a very baseline, like if you're going to look, let's say you don't even believe any aspect of divinity of Jesus. Is there a better model for like how one wants to live their life? Like, and not that I'm anywhere close to it. It's aspirational, but like a life guided by kindness and love and acceptance and service to others and sacrifice for others. Like even even if we're saying, like, potentially, like, if there is no God, if we're just here because it's all science and purely evolutionary and all that, and biology and chemistry, physics, um, isn't that at least about as good of a role model or like a code that one could live by? So that's even in my moments of least faith, that's sort of a guardrail I've hit more than once, I'm sure. Not that I don't keep a calendar of like, how am I feeling about?
That'd be weird if you did,
It'd
but
be
I
a
would
little
want to
weird.
know about it.
And then two, more extremes at time of like more certainty. I mean, these are all really, faith, life, humanity, God. These are all very deep questions, like that there's never going to be a certain answer in
Sure.
the human life
Sure.
for, and humans have struggled for as long as we've been sentient, whether
Yeah.
that's 500,000 years or pretty sure it's more than the 6,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to be clear, I'm not a creationist. Again, science.
Yeah, science is out there doing its thing. At some point, we got to pivot and talk about music.
Well, so this is actually a good segue because the themes of the album I chose, or not chose, but like my favorite album, are very much ones of,
Divinity.
yeah, but they're not they don't profess to be about religion. They're more about these same deeper questions, but not from a religious perspective.
Sure. Hold that thought. I want to take 5 and hit the restroom. And so we were pivoting to talk about music. My dad had some 8-tracks, and if I was with him in his van, Oak Ridge Boys, John Denver, he had like a Muppet movie soundtrack and a Sesame Street one, and but that was kind of what he was into. If I was with my mom, all oldies all the time. 71 WHB. She only had AM radio in her car. Eventually, we're kind of a 101 The Fox house in that we would turn that on to listen to while watching Chiefs games, and then it would.
Oh yeah.
It never moved from that dial. We had a small record collection, but not until I'm generating my own income and starting my own collection, which, was often, where the Prairie Village Shopping Center is.
Oh yeah, $16 CDs.
No. So I would ride my bike to the Dunkin' Donuts at 75th and Metcalf. Was at one time Peaches Records and Tapes, and then Sound Warehouse and CD Warehouse. That was where all of my money was going. And there's a couple times
It was
where
like 4 hours of minimum wage to buy a CD too.
well, but I was a cassette holdout for a year. I have
Okay, so 2 hours of.
but several times, I spent my whole wad, and I've got them in a plastic grocery sack, and it's swinging, and I broke a couple tape cases from that bike ride. My first night on the H. Row Bartle Scout Reservation, I had a raccoon scurry away with my Leawood Soccer Club duffel bag that had a couple of loose cassettes in there. My Led Zeppelin 4 case just took a beating as the bag hit rocks with the raccoon. So what I'm doing is literally I'm spending all my money creating this tape collection. And if I get somebody that I'm into, a Led Zeppelin or a Pink Floyd, I'm going all in. I'm getting everything. If I come across somebody who sounds interesting, maybe I'll buy a greatest hits. And then if they are somebody that sticks, then I start, and then I'll like dispose of the greatest hits like a murder victim in the woods, so that I was never, and
I've got the whole collection. What? Who needs greatest hits?
sin. brother. At some point, I buy Skeletons from the Closet, and I hated it. I revisit shelf.
No,
And
it's so random.
well,
I think they were just doing that. They threw it together just to get out of a contract with Arista. I think.
I think you're right. And if you can't find, if you look it up on a streaming service right now, it's like a 17 track hour plus. No, this is 9 tracks, and most of them are dog shit, like Rosemary and a live One More Saturday Night, and
Didn't have Fire on the Mountain though, did it?
no, the new version does. And, and
Oh.
by the way, the new version is called The Very Best of the Grateful Dead. You got a China Rider, a Franklin Sour, Help Slipknot, all that shit. But this original I was like, I don't get it at all. Go away to college. And somebody was like, what? You are like some version of a scholar of classic rock, a little hip hop rap. You're way into Fish, but you don't dig the Dead? Try this out. And they give me American Beauty.
Really?
Yeah. And I was
wow.
like, okay. I'm also, it was super weird, man. I was, I'd hair down to here, tie-dyes and overalls,
Your hair was that long?
several times.
Damn.
A lot of Pittsburgh State. You getting a whole mix of Kansas.
I know. My friend was there around the same time as you,
Okay.
but
So-
my age. So, well, he was there probably like 97 to or 98 to like 03 -ish,
Okay. So,
around there.
there were people that arrived at that campus that had never had a drop of alcohol or smoked a cigarette. Certainly, everybody learned quickly that. Me and some friends got in trouble, thinking we were slick in our dorm room. There was 5 dudes. There was a vent in the door, and there was a guy in a chair sitting by that vent. Just every couple of minutes, he'd blast a little bit of aerosol right guard through the vent. And there were like 3 things going around. Like so much that you're so quickly like, oh my God, that was way too, why did we do all those? One would have been,
Yeah.
Quickly. And it opened the door and we all roll out and they're like, do you know that people on the 3rd were in the basement of a dorm building? People on the 3rd floor were buzzing down? Because just raw dogging these 3, no doob tube, just an occasional blast of right guard out into the hallway was it. So it was weird. Like, people were like, that guy smokes dope. That guy's weird. It's drugs and scary, right? But to one buddy was like, how are you not into the Dead?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And
Skies parted.
yeah.
I get it.
So I mentioned some time ago that you were somebody that I reached out to when this thing was still in the build it stage. And the thought, a lot of things have changed along the way, but the thought back then was like, I think I was asking people, what's your number 1 album? What's your favorite album? What's morphed into, most people give me 5. Some people give me huge lists.
Oh, no, man. One. We're going to talk one.
It still happens on occasion. On occasion. So
No, I'm not going to do that to you, but I couldn't because this one stands out so much.
yeah.
And I've come to appreciate it too. There's so the Scorsese produced Long Strange Trip is good. I meant to rewatch it ahead of this. I watched it like last fall.
I've only watched it once too.
I watched some of it, and then there's actually, it was like $4 on Amazon or something. There is a specific like 1 hour documentary. It was probably made 90s, early 2000s. I don't know. It's hard to tell. There's so much archival, and you try to. They're all still dressing like hippies. You can, like you got to do it based on rough estimates of the guy's age, but after 95, for sure. But there is one particularly about this album, so I watched that twice, or most of it once 3-4 weeks ago, and then I watched most of it again today. And it cemented for me, like, oh, I was able to put into words a lot of like, oh, wow, yeah, okay, yeah. So it's interesting hearing descriptions of things that you're already drawn to.
Yeah.
It included an interview with the album artist. By the way.
Nice. So my numbers say that this is 5 of 16 studio-wise for them, and it's sandwiched in between Workingman's Dead of June and 70 and self-titled in October of 71. 10 tracks, 12 minutes, and for me is pretty close to, as to perfect as perfect can get when it comes to an album. And I still say that 30 plus years, and so that was my, like I said, I don't get it. Oh, that's sort of my early chapters 1 and 2 with the Dead. How did they come into your life, and where on that spectrum does American Beauty land in your lap?
I'm trying to think. I can't remember if my first album was Working Man's Dead or if it was the what do they got, Skeletons from the Closet. Right, I'm getting that right.
Pile of dog shit.
The Skeletons of Dog Shit.
Yeah.
Dog shit in the closet or something.
You got dog shit on my skeleton.
They would say it too. Like, as a fan, I don't think they would care. They'd be like, yeah, totally. We were just trying to get out of a contract. We threw that shit together, man.
Yeah.
It was in high school. I heard, so both my first cassette and my first CD were Pink Floyd's The Wall. So I was already Dead adjacent, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking backward, Led Zeppelin to some exposure, but very much into Pink Floyd early, and then like spread out. I listened to more modern stuff too, like Nirvana at the time. It was junior high, still hair band time.
Yeah, okay,
so
okay.
Guns N' Roses and that stuff too, while also back in like Pink Floyd world. High school branch out, Nirvana and grunge take off largely as a visceral response to the over-the-top glamness, right?
That's your personal theory on how grunge is birthed, is a response to the over-the-top glamness that we're getting in a lot of the 80s?
Oh, yeah. Like the hair, makeup, and like hairspray and all that is like, screw that back. It's about the music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who cares what you're wearing?
I'm not going to brush my hair or take a bath before this MTV Unplugged.
Not to mention hairspray or eyeliner. Yeah. Or wearing the same skin-tight leather pants on tour for 4 months without underwear. Through the summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think by about junior year, definitely by senior year, I picked up Working Man's Dead. I had seen it, and at Rockhurst there's like...
Does that have Uncle John's band on it? It does, yeah.
I can't remember... I don't think it was a person. It was more like I was seeing things. So like there was a t-shirt made at Rockhurst. I don't know if it was a fundraiser or what. And it was like a Dancing Bears or something. I wish I still had it. I'm sure some girl like stole it out of my fraternity.
Bitches.
But I was like, okay, there's some too. I'm going to check them out. And I went to Sam Goody or whatever.
Musicland.
Yeah, what was the other one? It wasn't like it wasn't Seventh Heaven, although I go there from time to time. Doesn't matter. And it's not like they had the whole catalog of whatever you wanted, right?
No.
It was like if you went to like Peaches, big place. If you went to like Seville Square on the Plaza, that record shop, CD store, music store, it wasn't that big.
Nah.
And
Multiple copies of top 40 shit.
So it was like, I'm pretty sure where I went, they maybe had 2 or 3, and I was like, okay, I'll look at Working Man's Dead, and I listened to that. I was like, okay, a little more and more, got after it.
All based on a hunch associated with a dancing bear on a fundraising T-shirt.
Kind of, but like also like seeing it around, hearing more.
Yeah, it's part of the lore,
And I knew, whatchamacallit, the one that actually, like, from In the Dark,
Touch of Grey.
Thank you.
Will.
So,
that's what I think. That is maybe the final track on Skeletons.
No,
Which
I don't think they put it on Skeletons. It was so because that was no.
I'm confusing memories, and I think that
Touch of Grey was.
I think I bought In the Dark with Touch of Grey on it because it was around that time where I'm like, I don't get it, and then that comes out, and they've got a video. They're on MTV, and I'm like, maybe I could try something different. So I think anyway,
we're both very much of the MTV generation.
Yeah.
When they actually started and played music
one of
before
my
they
all-time favorite memes. MTV turned 41 years old today. Thank you, MTV, for 11 years of music videos. Or something like that. Yeah.
Totally. I remember when they did play videos.
Yeah.
So there was that exposure too,
Yeah.
and I was like, I like that jam. Like, who didn't like that jam? And it was a fun video. The dog takes the drummer's leg.
Yeah.
And they go from skeletons and they turn into the people.
Hey.
And they look, the crowd's
I think
having
that
a good
one's
time.
Jerry.
There's like a pretty girl in a bikini in the crowd
Is there?
dancing. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to watch that again. Yeah.
And so it was after Working Man's Dead. Only really by coincidence would it have even been really. And I say, like, the meaning behind that. Well, I'll finish the thought and go deeper. My second album was American Beauty, which is like pure happenstance, but like Jerry himself said, like the two are really like one album.
Oh, were they recorded at the same time?
They weren't. They
Okay.
were recorded the same year, but
Yes.
the timing of it is, they had been pissing off Warner. Like, they'd been going into the studio. They had the last couple albums, which they even went to the studio for Dead Live.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't play it there, they mixed 2 different concerts and they were screwing around on the soundboard. They had negotiated in because Warner Brothers was so desperate to add. They had like Peter, Paul, and Mary, Frank Sinatra, Petula Clark, and they were trying to like tap into something
Else?
younger,
Okay.
hipper, cooler, because it's like late 60s. So they wrote into the Dead's contract unlimited studio time, which was like unheard of, right? Yeah, your eyes went big. I mean, they had to pay for it,
Oh,
but it was still unlimited.
the
studio.
Dead didn't have to pay for it. The label's paying for it.
The label's paying for it, but it's still ultimately going to trickle down, right? Like it's going to get there somehow.
Bummer.
Right?
I
Like-
bet you don't feel that in the moment. You're like, did we just get to be here like we own the place?
So they're
Then
all
later, like, have you gotten a paycheck?
they're all tripping on acid
I was
and like
told I could listen to my radio at a reasonable volume.
yeah. They're all tripped out on acid, like kid in a candy store. They hadn't played with equipment like that, and because they've just been playing live.
That chunk
stuff.
of the Scorsese where it's the 60s and all the acid stuff, I'm never ever in the mood for that flavor of the Dead. It's just not for me. But then put cameras and drug. I'm like, can we get fucking past this part? Because watching I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm too old for this. Let's get to the heroin thing. On that note, I think the craziest moment of that whole documentary is when Jerry reconnects with his high school sweetheart,
yeah.
and they put her backstage amongst all the cases that you put equipment in to tell the story, right? So she's like, yeah, we're blah 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 after a show, and somebody says to me, "You do know he's using again, right?" And she's like, I mean, right before that, they were like deep sea diving and in Hawaii and life is Jerry's health is, and then she says to him, "I'm not going to tell you not to. It's your life. You do as you see fit, but I am going to ask you. You have to be honest with me." And he goes, "I think it's time for you to leave."
Yeah.
Fuck. What? What are you doing? And that was it.
Yeah.
He was like, "I'm choosing my smokable juice over."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the because a lot of that special, I didn't know everything, but nothing was really insanely new or grabbing
Right.
me. And when
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened, I was like, get the fuck out.
I'd forgotten that, but yeah, that struck me too. Like, that was a
And
little
she
harsh.
said she could feel the room, as he was saying it, she like could literally feel the room grow cold. Right? Crazy. Anyway, I totally jumped in.
No, that's right. So this was on the heels of American Beauty.
Jerry says they're kind of the same album.
Same album. So they had been through the acid tests, right?
Yep.
And they had been going crazy with like experimental stuff. And so as Mickey Hart told it, they were getting too much heat in Haight-Ashbury. There were even like tour buses coming around being like, "Hey, that's where the Grateful Dead live."
Yeah.
He's like, so he got a place like out in the country, across the bay or wherever. And slowly the others came. So they like started to just have their party out in the countryside. And what he said is like, we're a bunch of like psychedelic cowboys like running around on my ranch. And they decided for their next album, which ended up being Working Man's Dead, but also that's like part and parcel American Beauty, was this like not even a return, but like a turning to like acoustic, basic, not the like what Mickey Hart. Here's how Mickey Hart described it. I'm going to read it. He goes, speaking of like having come from like psychedelic phase of like a total experimentation, like carving new
this
places.
Is early 70s. So that shit is still fresh, right?
He says, we didn't realize we were really changing, and so this was sort of stepping out of our spacesuit, coming down to Earth, putting on a pair of Oshkosh and, digging the furrows, getting back to our Earth, putting our feet on the ground. It was the same band. We were really exploring vocals and so forth. That means that we would have to tone the music down. We'd have to bring the music in to support the texts.
I love that. That's awesome. I can totally see it.
Bringing it down to ground. You know it because you were
no idea you just created a masterpiece. Oh, there's our new album.
Mm-hmm. And they also, the last two albums, they'd gone into the studio without rehearsing at all. Like they didn't know what they were going to play for the album. They're just going into like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. We're a band. We'll go in and play. So here they like, almost everything was written, mostly by Robert Hunter. Most of that also with Jerry, but mixed up. And they rehearsed a ton.
Okay.
Before going in the studio.
For American Beauty.
And the goal was, because at this time they were, that January, so in short order, they had lost Tom Constantin, the keyboardist from 68 to 70.
Who?
Right, exactly. He was a friend of Phil Lesch's. They were like
66 their year of origin.
Roughly, yeah.
And who is it then?
The keyboardist?
Yeah. Not Pigpen. Right?
I don't know how the pieces fit because there were, even when they brought in Keith Godchaux, which was
late 70s.
Between the albums, in fact.
Between Workingman's and American Beauty?
Between releases.
Okay.
I don't know about, I don't know the recording
And
dates.
Donna too?
And Donna too. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
that's when he joined in. I understand because like into 71, maybe even into 72 was before Pigpen died. He died in 71 or 72.
Yes,
So
maybe
like,
73
did
or
they
74.
have two keyboardists at the same time? Was he just doing harmonica? I don't know.
I didn't learn until, and we're not there yet, so I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but I didn't learn or recall until getting ready for this that he wrote Operator.
It makes a lot more sense, doesn't it?
I was like, what? So then
It's
I'm like, when did he die and when was he in? I thought he was part of the 60s. It's a lot to keep track of.
that's my least favorite song on the album, and it seems out of place because
It's not
it is
mine. We'll get to it.
because it is, and that's not.
I think it fits.
It does, but
It's different.
it's different.
It's no Box of Rain.
It's
no
different.
Ripple.
It's you know, he was the close. I never still don't fully understand like how hippie culture overlapped with like Hell's Angels biker culture. Like,
These guys, wasn't it?
well, yeah, and even at Ken Casey's ranch, where like they're, you know, from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he was relatively rich, and he let people come and go, and like he had a bowl of cash, and everybody can do all the acid you want, and let's party. So there were like hippie girls in the same parties with like these dirty, rough biker Hell's Angels too. I never still don't really understand that.
No, I don't know that it's to be understood.
He's the embodiment of that nexus more than anyone in the band.
Pigpen.
Pigpen is
Interesting.
in my view.
Yeah.
And because like a dirty, gritty
He looked gritty in footage.
blues. Yeah, yeah.
I got it. Okay.
Like that
He
was
doesn't
his
look
jam.
like Brent Midland or Bruce Hornsby or Keith Gotcho.
Or Vince Welnick.
Yeah. Good call.
None of
Really good
none
call.
of the D, E, F. None of the above.
Yeah.
So yeah, Operator sticks out a little bit
Well,
to me.
so question one for you.
Mm.
This is the era, the golden age of the album, right? And the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 60s, sure, 80s, okay, but really right here is where labels are, okay, let's make a deal, we'll pony up, you guys go in there, do your thing, and then at the end of the thing, here's a record, and it's got our artwork and a specific track listing and track length, runtime, and credits and liner notes. It's a whole different
They loved it.
world than right now.
Oh, then the one we're living in
The
right
way
now.
that music is consumed
Oh.
right now, right? So
The concept of an album, like, is that even a thing anymore?
precisely. So I love all of that. I've always, since the day I started my cassette collection, I've always loved all the way down to the smell of the liner notes in those cassettes. So at some point, a track sequence. Okay, we have the albums that are going to make, we have the tracks that are going to make the album. And now what order are they going to be in is, so those are all choices. I don't know who makes them. I'm sure it varies from situation to situation and band to band and label to label, but this album kicks off with Box of Rain.
I know.
Was putting it in the leadoff spot the right call?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it's so
Zero hesitation.
no. I mean it's just like all of a sudden it's just.
Yeah.
I wish I had the musical training to describe it. I can feel it and sense it, what it's doing. I'm sure there's many layers to what's happening there. The whole song was the music, the melody, intro, bridge, the whole thing was written before the words. And this is a rare one written by Phil Lesh.
Yeah.
So his background was he wasn't a bass player until the Dead asked him to join, and like Jerry is like, "Do you think you could learn to play the bass?"
I don't know.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, man, groovy. Yeah, he like played the trumpet and maybe like the violin, and he was studying like music theory. So he was into like avant-garde, classical music and jazz. but like he's the one who actually had the formal education in like music theory.
Oh wow.
He wrote it, so I'm sure there is something formulaic or something behind how it just hits.
I mean that opening
just
strum. Yeah. It's like you walk past something super duper cool happening around a campfire. Like, oh shit, we gotta go see it. And you missed the first few minutes, but you didn't miss enough to like pick up on the story and pick up on the vibe, and then you're in for the whole until that last coal goes out and everybody goes to bed, right? That opening strum, ding ding, just like
it's great.
I can't draw a parallel. I've listened to a lot of records, and I really can't. I mean, I'm sure if I had a research team in 2 years, I'm sure we could come up with a list. But
get your interns on that 2 years from now.
I will. I'm glad
it does. And so Hunter wrote the lyrics. Robert Hunter, frequent songwriting partner, and it was at the time that Phil Lesh's dad was dying. So I don't know the extent of the collaboration. If Robert Hunter has said it was a song written for a young man whose father is dying.
Shit. Okay.
So Hunter, I don't know if Lesh collaborated in the lyrics or not. He went to Hunter at least. I've seen the interview where he's like had the whole thing written. I went and I was like I hummed it out for him. Like here's what it is. And Hunter wrote the lyrics, but Hunter also would have known at the time that Phil Lesh's dad was dying. And
oh wow.
And Hunter later said he wrote it for a young man whose dad was dying because it's what do you want me to do to see you through? Like, woo, back to like the cosmic, the deeper questions, which is all over this album, right? Like Broke Down Palace, Ripple, Addicts of My Life, and Box of Rain. Like those four, I would have taken those on an album and left the rest, honestly, because those, like, for me, those are just everyone, like, they're on theme. They like
they fit.
They're cohesive with each other.
They are.
And that's kind of the perspective why I look at Operator. I'm like,
well,
theme, like genre, yes, it fits genre. They're in their psychedelic cowboy thing where they're like tripping and like riding horses and shooting rifles out on Mickey Hart's ranch. Sure,
it's also
in acoustic. It's this Americana. Ding, 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 ding. I think there's even a washboard in it.
There might be. It fits. It fits to the whole.
I know. But the lyrics and theme, genre, yes. The music and instrumentation, yes. The theme, the lyrics. I mean, it's like
trying to check out a number.
Trying to get a phone number.
Yeah.
An operator's being a dick. Really need that number.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn it. Damn the luck Central done forgot it.
Right.
Got to find a number of you.
So you bring up Hunter. You've mentioned Hunter a couple of times. Friend of the Devil has always, and I don't think that I was able to put a finger on this until very recently, perhaps even in preparation for this, but it is always kind of odd. It's almost like it's the embodiment of the Garcia Hunter relationship in song form to me. Not because of the story it's telling or the arrangement or the form, but it just reeks of that. And obviously I didn't know that Hunter was a thing that was part of the equation in my early years of listening to the Dead, but over time it has really just stood out as by the way, there's a little thing over here that happens to pump a lot of content our way, and it's I think, harmonious and positive. I don't know.
I think for many of those years, most of that time, late 60s, certainly then, starting at least in 70 with these albums, and for years afterwards, he was like considered a member of the band.
Okay,
Like,
interesting. Yeah.
like he may not be on stage, like, but he's writing all these really amazing, poetic, timeless, poignant lyrics.
Yeah.
Writing these songs, like
Yeah.
he's on the bus.
So Sugar Magnolia's in the 3 spot. It was one of those from Skeletons, so I was familiar with it. And it's sort of, if Friend of the Devil is the embodiment of Hunter Garcia, to me, Sugar Magnolia is sort of the embodiment with the Dancing Bears, the personality of the band, the reputation. I mean, it's got some lore to it, but it's never really been a favorite of mine. Is it a special tune for you?
I like it.
Okay.
It's definitely lighter. It's a lighter counterbalance.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it on the album. I like it live probably better. Box of Rain, I've yet to hear a live one that matches the studio. Like, that's
Good luck,
right.
especially now.
We're running out of opportunities
Yeah.
for
Quickly.
part of the band to.
Quickly.
Was that your like walker?
No, it was Austin Powers.
Oh.
Honestly, baby, that's not my bag. One book. Honestly, baby, this really is my bag. Written by Austin Powers. Just trying to deny that this penis pump. And then she steps away and he's like, quickly. Before she...
I really need to watch that again.
Yeah,
It's been too long because I remember some of that,
Right.
and I want to remember all
Right.
of it.
Right.
Along those lines, I did want to share something that Bob wrote. So that Bob sang vocals on this, even though he wasn't the writer of it.
Yeah.
Bob Weir.
Wait, Sugar Magnolia? Bob Weir sings? Pays my ticket. No.
Sugar Magnolia, blossoms blooming,
Okay.
heads all empty, and I don't care. So my baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
You can totally get
Yep.
it on the so my.
Yeah, which is, when this was my Eureka album for this band.
Mm-hmm.
It opens with Box of Rain. I'm like, I don't recognize that voice. And then 2 tracks later, it's like, also, where's the dude? Where's that Jerry guy? Anyway.
Is that the same guy?
So Bob Weir.
So what he said is they first did it in the studio. They hadn't played it live before, some of the stuff they had. So they had no idea what it was going to turn into. He said on the album, these are his words, it has sort of a countryish flavor to it. Can agree there. But when we got it on stage, it was pretty much balls out rock and roll.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Because it was like, a faster pace, electric
Yeah.
on stage for one. Like
Yeah.
it's acoustic.
I remember...
Even Jerry's doing steel guitar on it, in studio.
Okay. Sometime around when that Scorsese deal came out and Fare Thee Well was going on, somebody shared, I think it was on Twitter, what's your all-time favorite da-da-da, and somebody said, I gotta go with Sunshine Daydream, and immediately somebody's like, that's actually...
Not a song.
I love that you wanted to participate in this thing, but...
Song, not a song. Sorry, not sorry. That's not a song,
Yeah.
not a song.
It's part of one. It's a small part of one, but... Candyman, we already talked operator. I haven't been to Memphis in years, but I definitely did not learn to talk the jive when I was down there. I've often worried for the safety of Mr. Benson. I do love this track, and especially in that the side one closer. I like the fit there. What about you?
So CD from the start. So
Right.
I don't know it being the side A closer. I've mixed feelings about it. but way, way, way more good feelings. I guess maybe the mixed feelings are tied to like, who is this candy man? What is what is this candy?
Yeah, yeah.
I hope it's not the candy man who drove around in the 80s in the white van.
Right.
Because
we're 71. We're safe.
We're safe. We're all raised to like, don't take candy from the strangers in the van.
The music is too sweet for it to be that, right?
But I mean, are they talking about a Coke dealer?
I don't know.
The candy man?
I'm still trying to figure out what about the number and the operator from the previous chapter.
Is that who he's trying to get? Is that the number? That's the number Big Pin needed.
He's run down a line.
Trying to talk to the candy man. Trying to make my Coke fix up.
So what about you zero hesitation on Box of Rain as the lead off? Do you like where Ripple is?
I like how the album ends. Like it's kind of not my favorite, but it goes Ripple, Broke Down Palace, which Till the Morning Comes, great song for after Addicts in My Life, fantastic. Truckin', I mean, if I don't dislike it, it's like kind of the non-Dead's fans' favorite Dead song if it's not Touch of Grey, right?
I think it is the
highest charting.
And that's all I have to say about that. Like,
right?
American Beauty is this whole story that you were on the edge of your seat the whole time Forrest was telling it. And then that's what trucking is. It's just kind of like, all right, cool, we're done. And I'm not
not bagging it,
sticking around. Right, I'm not bagging it, but I'm also not sticking around to listen to it if it comes my way.
You know, well, we're skipping ahead, and
you like where Ripple is, though.
I like where Ripple is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I like the song order, the whole thing. I aside from Box of Rain, I really like how the album ends. Truckin', I can take it or leave it.
You mentioned Till the Morning Comes. I'll take Operator every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Till the Morning Comes. I'm no dog in the race of dissing it, but it has always provided no value to me. Probably because it's sandwiched between Broke Down and Addicts, and I just want to stay in that lane. But
that's the only thing is if it went Ripple, Broke Down, Addicts, like
you need to break that up somehow.
I mean,
yeah,
I've already said that it could have been a 4-song album for me.
So just because I couldn't help myself, my 5 favorite passages of Broke Down.
Ooh.
In my time, I will roll. Listen to the river, sing sweet songs to rock my soul. Mama, many worlds I've come since I first left home. Fare you well, fare you well. I love you more than you can tell. And then last but not least, do. I mean, it's. I listen to that song, and it ends, and I'm like, did I just live an entire life? In 4.5. What the fuck? It's so wonderful.
It is.
And you sort of discover an album, first listen, all the way down here is know it like the back of your hand, but somewhere in that arc of getting familiar with it until you know it, you hit Broke Down, and you're like, oh, I remember there being a big fat doozy on here. And then you get to Addicts of My Life, and you're like, fuck, we're not out of the woods yet. Addicts.
Broke Down's great. What Bob Weir said about it was, so that song in particular, and really the whole album, because they were all written around the same time, obviously. His words were, life had delivered us some punches. So he said he had lost his parents.
This is Bobby.
Bob, he had said he had lost his. Phil lost his, both of his parents. Jerry had lost his. He said Pigpen was running out of steam. They didn't know it at the time, but Pigpen was dying. And they had reached sort of maturity in, like, it was the first time they really were starting to ask those sort of big boy questions, like the deeper questions. So this is one of them that's why I'm drawn to those four. Like, this is one of them that probes those things, right? It's like living the lifetime. You feel like you lived a lifetime in the song. It's like leaving home, all of it, laying down, making a bed by the waterside. In my mind, I'm thinking like someone's laying down to die, like quiet death, right? Like,
But that water's gonna make it peaceful.
by verdant pastures, he gives me repose, right? Psalm 23. Or animals, like, have you ever had a dog that went, like, when it's time to
Far
die,
away to die.
go like in a corner and hide, and like just so.
Wow.
In my mind, that's when it's like lay down by the river. That's what I'm thinking of, like, and the waters take me home, like,
Yeah.
carrying my spirit off.
Wow.
That's what I gather from the lyrics.
Seeing the song title "Addicts of My Life," I can barely like see that sequence of words without tearing up just a little bit. As much as I love the music and broke down the lyrics of Addicts, it might be like the opposite. Like, I don't know. There's a lot more liberties taken instrumentally.
And it relies on the vocals more too.
Yeah.
Like the harmony, I think Jerry was the high, Phil was the no, maybe Jerry was the low, Phil was the high, and Bob in between. But they were the three vocalizing. Okay. On Addicts, I'm pretty sure is this one, they layered their lyrics twice, so they recorded them, the three of them.
It has that feel
on top of each other, which creates a little extra dimension to it.
Yeah.
And a little waviness, a little extra something to the harmony.
Yeah. Seeking all. It feels like a choir.
It does.
That's been unsung.
And it's to me, it's the most powerful song on the album because it speaks to like human weakness and like and it's like a thank you or a nod to like whoever held you up in those moments of weakness, right? The lyrics are like where was it? When I had no wings to fly.
Yes. You flew to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Such good stuff.
Yeah. When there were no strings to play, you played to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other Dead studio albums or live record? Did anything ever get this level of attention from you as a fan of the Dead? Or has this always kind of been...
No. In a word, no.
Okay.
Working Man's Dead I enjoy too, but not...
Did you ever have a copy of Terrapin Station?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Terrapin
is something in the form of... it's, in my mind, something more along the lines of Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
It's more of like an overall production experience, start to finish, as opposed to like an album of songs. It's more like a one thing.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's apples and oranges kind of thing for me.
Okay.
I do like Terrapin,
Yeah.
and that's a Phil Lesh heavy. Like
The title track, the whole Lady with a Fan suite, the whole side 2 thing.
Overall, that I think is
Phil heavy.
Phil heavy.
Okay, like
Compared
estimated
to-
profit.
Compared to
Womp.
his contributions
Womp.
in the whole.
Arc of the band. Okay, interesting. So you never got into Dick's Picks or listening to
from
live
time-
shows.
Oh yeah, live shows for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. In fact, one of my go-tos when I'm listening to music now, when I'm going to the Dead, is for the last 10 or 15 years, somebody does 30 Days of Dead in November.
Oh yeah.
And I managed to find a couple of years ago somebody who had a Dropbox of all of the ones to date. And I like, whoosh, Control A, download.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Nice.
And I try to remember. They used to, I think, cut it off so they weren't available anymore. But
Oh.
it's not whole shows, but it's live, and you'll get a China Cat, Know Your Rider,
Yeah.
even more like you'll even get like a Scarlet that ends up in Touch of Grey.
Oh, funny.
So not just single songs, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then like trying to trade tapes and stuff. I got a few like rougher, eighth generation. Haven't quite held up to the test of time.
But this was your American Beauty for the purposes of this conversation. You were like,
yeah.
This is my thing. Any other albums by or artists they warrant Robert Flynn shout outs?
I mean, Pink Floyd,
Right. Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
They're like around the same time, totally different environment, but like their timeline very parallel.
Yeah.
Doing the same things, taking lots of acid and just doing a lot of the early stuff is some really raw
Not for me.
experimentation of like,
You can keep Saucerful and Piper. It's just not.
okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
On a lane. Nope. No, thank you.
Yeah. But around the same time, like they started to put it together musically in the studio, and that they were the Dead's best stuff would have been live. I mean, this is a work of art.
It is.
But they would say we're musicians. Jerry would say music inherent in what we do with music is the audience and performing live and that energy. I think he said something like, making a studio album is like building a ship in a bottle. Playing live is more like being in a rowboat in the ocean.
Whoa. Huh.
The freedom
Yeah.
to go wherever versus the precision. They nailed the precision. They had screwed around for years. They had like explored these nooks and crannies of every direction musically.
Yep.
And had gotten communicative, understanding each other, polished sound, balanced sound, excellent songwriter, and they were motivated at the time. Not only had I mentioned Tom Constantin had died in 1970. In January, that's when they were busted in New Orleans, which is in Truckin', which is autobiographical, all the things that happen. They were $200,000 in debt for studio time for the last two albums, which is a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Mickey Hart's dad had been their business manager, and he left town with whatever money they had left.
Ooh.
So they were like, they needed to make something work really quickly, and they took all of this. Who was it? It's probably a good way to end it. There's a quote. I think it was. This is where you're going to edit, but it's worth the quote though. So Dennis McNally, their PR guy, he said, you get diamonds out of coal with tremendous pressure, and that's what happened. They're under all the pressure in the world. Any other band would have folded. Instead, they created a jewel with two facets. First, Working Man's Dead, and then American Beauty.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That's what it is for me. A
Cool.
jewel.
Well,
A jewel.
I really appreciate it. I've looked forward to having this conversation with you since you first said yes and told me that was your record.
I know. I called dibs on it.
You did.
Don't let anyone.
And as a matter of fact, I'm not 100% confident on this, but I'm pretty confident that this is the first Studio Dead album to make anybody's lists 142 episodes in.
So there have been other Dead favorite albums?
One guy,
Uh-huh.
as a part of his list, had two from the vault.
Okay.
I think somebody, no, that's not true. Somebody else had Europe 72.
That would have been my guess.
But-
Great album.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not technically a studio album. It doesn't, whatever. It's a great album.
Mm-hmm.
I usually end with 5 goofy questions and then we'll wrap and get you out of here. Cool.
Bring it on.
Lunch with anybody. You're choosing dead or alive. Who and why?
Probably my sister.
Oh,
My memories
shit,
are
man.
pretty.
You hit me with that tree twice in the morning. Your memories are pretty.
They fade. And I remember a lot of the conflict.
Because she was having a rough go of it, right?
She was having a rough go of it, and siblings fight.
Native American?
Yeah, adopted Native American.
Yes.
And there weren't a lot of brown people then.
Yeah.
So it's, when there's the brown person named Molly Flynn, or the brown girl with the white family, like, it's a different world 30, 40, 50 years ago. Now, people might look, it registers.
They go about their business.
And they go about their
Hopefully.
business. Back then, it was a different world. And she, I think, felt that and internalized that and had a lot of issues. So, behavioral issues generally, and there were times that we would fight just like any siblings would fight. And, it's part of like, I probably have that same gene as Alehu of being too hard on myself.
Great answer, man. Fear Factor. Remember this show?
Yes, not the eating stuff. I would not be eating the worms.
Okay, so
Is that the question?
The question is, what is the absolute worst case scenario for Robert Flynn in a Fear Factor challenge?
Oh, eating the slugs or the worms or whatever.
So it's the eating of stuff.
The heights, the adrenaline stuff, no problem.
Okay.
Like straight up like chewing on some like 6-inch Mexican roach or something.
Oh, God.
No.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Nope.
You're given the opportunity to visit your past self, any age, also you're choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I'd interact. I really would like to see myself again, like freshman, sophomore year of college. At the time, he sure thought he had it figured out, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, who doesn't, right? You're 18, 19.
Yeah.
Like, I got it all figured out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would need to interact. I'd more want to observe and reflect on like how that might differ. I mean, I'm sure it's like hearing yourself, a recording of yourself, which you do more than I do. Your voice typically doesn't match.
Now that we're post the age of answering machines, I do have the edge in that department. Yeah. Sadly. and I gotta fucking look at my dumb face while I'm listening to myself. You know what I mean?
Yep. Speaking of answering machines, there was a song in the Olympic opening ceremonies. Did you watch it last night? This is the Paris 2024.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was the one that went. Do you remember there was a TV commercial for the part of your answering machine when it was cassette that played the like, hey, this is the Johnsons, we're not home, leave a message after the beep, boop, and it would record on the other cassette, and then
oh, okay.
So where the Johnsons was on one cassette, the recording the messages
yes.
was on another cassette. For the We're the Johnsons one, there was a company that went on TV, and they sold they had created songs of like for your answer machine, and one of them was leave a message, leave a message at the tone, leave a I hadn't heard that song in years, and all I could think about in the Olympic ceremony, they had this like orchestra playing, and I'm trying to not ruin it for my family in the room.
Right.
Leave a message.
That's how I feel. Okay, so I don't know my classical music very well.
Me neither.
But you know this piece? Okay. Couldn't tell you the name of it or who wrote it, but in goddamn 1985, McDonald's used it in a commercial, and it was the little girl. And I would eat the fries myself and not give any to my dumb brother. Mine, oh my. And it was a whole... I can't not hear that commercial when that amazing piece of music comes on.
Damn Madison Avenue.
But
capitalists.
Answering machines, and you're reflecting, you're not necessarily going to interact, right? Was the answer to the age.
As an exercise in dissonance, or measuring, observing dissonance, like, was I the person I look back and perceive myself in the way that like we hear our voices different in our head from how the rest of the world does, or when we hear it on tape?
Yeah. Fascinating.
So I more like just to see.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he may have thought he had the world figured out. There's not much he could really like.
Yeah.
You know, another conversation with the college bro.
Yeah.
You know, I'm good. I'm good.
Box has been checked, sir.
Although I think we would get along listening to American Beauty.
Hey, there you go.
Which, by the way, I was going to bring up the album art.
Yes.
Beauty also spells reality on the bottom.
Oh, wow. Nice.
On purpose.
Of course.
That's not like man, if you play Dark Side of the Moon and
put on the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
True or false? You at one time told me that you possess the skills to do a pretty good Scotty P from We're the Millers impersonation when that film came out. True or false?
Oh, I'm good. It's been so. I gotta. Let me.
I did not make that up, correct?
Yes. Oh my God! I need to rewatch it. I've only seen it like once or twice.
Okay.
Oh!
We're gonna do it.
Let me see.
You got the chops to do it?
I'm trying to think back. Maria and I would do it, and we'd laugh. We'd share a laugh about it. I'm trying to think of like. Oh, what was it? I'm trying to think of the catch line. Oh, you have a whole thing. If I had take my hand off my face.
So I'm gonna be David Clark, and you're gonna be Scotty P.
Oh, we're gonna do the.
Yeah. Just do your best. You don't, you know.
It was really the laugh that I had, but okay. Well, what? Oh, I'm Scotty P.
Yeah.
What's up, dog?
Not much, dog. What's up with you?
Oh, I'm here to pick up Casey. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm awake and I do speak English, so yeah, I do know what you're saying. What's your name, man?
Scotty P. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Again, I do know what you're saying, but I do appreciate you continuing to check in with me on that. Hey, those are cool tats, man.
Oh, for real. Thank you, bro. You see the cobra?
What's this one? What is this one right here?
Oh, this? This is my credo. No regrets.
Mm-hmm. How about that? You have no regrets?
Nope.
Not a one?
Nope. I wish I did. Talk about...
No, not one regret, huh?
That's how I've been living my whole life. I went to a tattoo artist and I was like, this is how I live. Can you put that on my body? And he did.
Not like even a single letter?
No, I can't think of one. I love all the letters. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's a lot of letters in the alphabet. How many are there now?
Ooh, it's in the 20s.
Oh my God. That clip. I think it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds long, just easily on the old YouTube. But
I wish you would have prepped. Oh, dog! I wish you would have prepped me for that. Know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. Okay, last but not least, please complete. The world would immediately become a better place in which to live if only.
Oh, I don't want to get myself in trouble. If only everyone had what they needed.
I like that. That's good stuff.
I'll share my first inclination off tape.
Sure. Well, when we sat down, you said you didn't know if you had 3 in you, but I mean it's been almost 4 since you rang my doorbell. So
that's what you get. Nexus, lawyer and teacher, man. Can fill a lot of airtime.
Robert Flynn, long time in the
Hood
in the long time coming is what are the words I'm looking for to make this happen.
Nice to be back here in the 60s.
Right.
I grew up in the 400s of the 60s.
Okay, gotcha. I really appreciate a huge chunk of your Saturday. It was really fun talking with you, and talk to you soon.
Yeah, this is fun.
Thanks,
man.
Yeah.